On December 21st of last year, the storytime animation YouTuber Illymation released a video called Perks of Being the Fat Kid. 2 months later, the anti-woke YouTube channel Think Before You Sleep responded to Illy's video in a video titled Fat Acceptance Cartoon. When one of her followers reached out on Tumblr to ask if she'd seen the video, Illy replied, and after expressing frustration about the harassment she was receiving, she ended the post by asking her followers to report the video. In response to this one Tumblr post, Sean made a whole new video. Woke YouTuber is trying to deplatform me.
Alright, are we all caught up now? Thanks, Noah, because I'm tired of summarizing this drama. That being said, welcome to Noah Samsen Season 3. For those of you who are new to this, Noah and I go all the way back to last year where he made multiple videos accusing me of lying to my audience, not pre-watching content that I react to in videos, and he accused me of not doing proper research. After 3 videos of him doing this, I decided to take my responses out of the community tab and released this video here giving multiple examples of him criticizing videos that he didn't actually watch, and him using multiple studies in this video that he didn't actually read as evidence of his points. And I mean that it was blatantly obvious that he didn't read any of the studies because they directly contradicted the points that he was making in the video, like one sentence past the abstract. Noah responded to that video with this one here, where he basically lied to his audience by not mentioning that he didn't read the studies, and followed that up by using more studies that he wasn't transparent with his audience about not reading.
You better look in the damn mirror and check yourself, because you are guilty of everything that you accuse them of.
And now we're here. Noah is clearly still mad about getting caught red-handed lying to his audience, so now he's decided to insert himself into some drama between me and an animation storytime YouTuber who goes by Illymation, as a chance to get a one-up on me in the face of a prior defeat. So that's where we are. Now, a little disclaimer. After I released my last video on this situation, someone made me aware that Illymation or Alyssa was doxxed by people who are watching the drama unfold. It's typically not my policy to bring up a doxing in a video because I think all that does is signal boost it, but since Noah seems hell-bent on letting everyone know that Alyssa's information got leaked so he can get back at me for a prior incident, I wanted to start this video out by saying that I was sorry to hear that she got doxxed when I initially heard it, and what those people did was wrong. Alyssa telling her followers to mass flag my channel was messed up, but personally I think doxing is worse and should be illegal. Hopefully she's safe and remains safe. That being said, just to make this clear for the people who didn't see my Twitter post, this is not another Illymation video. We're done with that. Though Alyssa will be a part of the subject material because she's the topic of discussion, this is primarily a Noah Samsen video. Now, in a situation like this, I typically would have just ignored Noah's video because, like I said, I don't want to further signal boost the dox. However, Noah has made claims against me that are so outlandish that I have to respond to them. Some of the old Noah fans might be aware that Noah actually has a history of this behavior, as he famously slandered Vaush and Xanderhal in a video that he made 2 years ago. Here's Vaush reacting to that.
I am not joking when I say to all of you, with full sincerity, that this is, quite possibly, the worst takedown I've seen. I don't know what else to say. Now, Noah Samsen has been kind with me in DMs, but sometimes kindness is just a way of placating people while you stab them in the back. If Noah has any spine, the follow-up video that he claimed he's going to make will include a full retraction of essentially everything.
Now, I am not a Vaush fan. In fact, I really don't like him. However, after Noah made this video, I can see why Vaush got so mad. Noah was so slanderous in his accusations against me that the effects of it border on defamation. But at the same time, some of the stuff he said in his video was so idiotic, for lack of a better word, that I can't tell if Noah is doing this stuff because of some malicious plot against my beliefs, or if he's doing this all by mistake because he's simply not good at formulating arguments. Though I'm not sure if it matters that Noah's arguments are bad, because what Noah is actually pretty good at, like surprisingly good at, is influencing people to believe his points, whether they are correct or not. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about how Noah gets a bunch of things wrong because he doesn't know how to fact check. Let's talk about how he does literally every bad thing he accuses his opponents of. And let's talk about how he takes innocuous things and uses those to villainize his opponents. To start, Noah accuses me of maliciously taking Alyssa out of context to make her look bad. Oh wait, one quick thing before we move on. In his reaction, for some reason, Noah puts up a bunch of shirtless photos of himself as a kid as B-roll.
This is so weird. I just feel it's really fucking weird. He has like semi-nude like pictures of himself as a kid. Is it just fucking weird? Am I
I mean, it's, yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
It's
it's
odd.
fucking weird to me.
I'm not trying to attract Vaush fans, so I'll be swapping that B-roll out with other pictures of Noah, like this picture here of football Noah that I found on Google. Holy crap, is this even the same person?
Like the article said, any of the teams that were in the top 5 have a chance.
Yep, that's his voice. I can't believe it. If you can look like that, why would you style yourself like this? This is like the my daughter before and after college meme. I know that this was the most controversial point in my original video on Illymation, and I do maintain that I should have been more empathetic when it came to talking about specifically Alyssa's styling choices, which is something that I said in this community post, but can you guys see how much of a difference styling makes? Anyway, that's a tangent, sorry, but that's why I'm not using the creepy 9-year-old photos of Noah. By the way, one more caveat. Noah refers to me a lot by my first name in this video, which is much easier to say than my entire channel name, so when he says Sean, he's referring to me. Now back to the part where he says that I maliciously took Alyssa out of context to make her look bad. Here's me from a prior video. Now I have to do some investigating to find out what Alyssa's eating habits are. After scrolling down through her community tab, the only thing I was able to see her eating was ice cream.
I want to talk about how he had to lie for a lot of these insults, like how the very next post on her community tab after the milkshake thing showed her holding a bag of wheat bread.
For one, she didn't eat that bread, her pet did, so I win on a technicality. 2, bread is not healthy. Bread is a processed food, it's bad for you, and it's a lot of calories. I said that in the original video when I showed this image on screen. People who are trying to lose weight should not be eating bread. This is junk food, Noah. That's why I didn't use it as an example of healthy eating. Yeah, she doesn't only eat ice cream. Obviously, I didn't literally mean that because I showed her drinking soda. However, every social media post that I found of her for that video is her in front of a bunch of candy or promoting processed junk food or eating fried corn or eating food that was made from a box. To further fact check this, for this video, I scrolled all the way down through her social media except for Tumblr. I don't know how Tumblr works. Here's everything I found in reference to things that she was consuming. Here's everything from Twitter, here's YouTube, and here's Instagram. It's almost all processed junk food like ice cream, Doritos, Burger King, Taco Bell with a caption saying that she loves Taco Bell again about 2 weeks later, a refrigerator full of donuts, pancakes and mac and cheese, and matzo ball soup that she said in a video was made from a box. The healthiest thing I found her eating was this piece of chicken and maybe these dragon rolls from 8 years ago. Like most Americans, I don't think Alyssa knows what healthy food is, and during the last Noah Samsen drama, I showed that he eats like crap, so he doesn't know what's healthy either. Both of you can start learning by reading ingredients labels. But I digress. This is kind of Noah's MO, where he injects himself into a space that he's not that knowledgeable in, breaks a bunch of stuff, and leaves everyone with a mess of misinformation. So you have that Noah who doesn't know what he's talking about. Then you have moments with willfully ignorant Noah, like this one.
I want to talk about how he spent what must have been hours digging around her social media accounts to find photos of her eating junk food and of her body at a time when she weighed less in order to accuse her of lying about her diet.
Noah, you have to know that this doesn't take hours to do. Well, maybe he doesn't know because he's bad at research, but let me show you how fast you can find these pictures. Okay, I just opened up OBS and we're going to scroll down from the top of her Instagram. And this is not going to take that long at all. Not even scrolling down that quickly. And there's this picture. Scrolling down a little bit more. And let's see, there is that picture. Didn't take that long at all. This took less than a minute. It's not that hard. Alyssa doesn't post that much. Literally watching the shortest video of hers took longer to do than scroll through her Instagram. Speaking of, that's where this McDonald's picture comes from. I found it by watching a ton of her videos, which is what I do for every reaction, and it's what everyone who does scripted content should do. Even finding all the junk food pictures, screenshotting them, and organizing them took less than 30 minutes. But what are we, shaming research now? If I'm trying to figure out who a creator is it wrong for me to look at more than just their YouTube channel? This is standard procedure that I do for every video, and most of the time, it leads me to a more charitable opinion of the person that I'm reacting to. But Noah thinking it's excessive to spend less than an hour checking people's other platforms is just a self-report on how little research he does for his videos. So this is the Noah that I'm familiar with. Noah is like Diet Hassan. He's the same old Hassan that we know and love, except with a lot less followers. But he makes huge mistakes that are obviously indicative of someone who doesn't know what he's doing. And much like Hassan, he will often take advantage of people's lack of knowledge in a subject like video creation to make viewers think that it takes 10 hours to scroll down a little bit on someone's public Instagram account. So I have a very difficult time telling if Noah is simply not good at this or if he's being malicious. Quite a lot of his videos seems malicious, particularly around his discussion of doxing and harassment. And what I mean by that is that he knows that I didn't say anything out of line, break any rules, encourage harassment, encourage doxing, or intentionally design a narrative that would lead to doxing. So what he has to rely on to accuse me of those things is mostly the words of the most unhinged people that he could find.
Right after Sean posted this response, the comment section on Illy's video went through some changes. It was flooded with hate comments, threats, insults, inflammatory accusations.
Yeah, I didn't say any of those things. Other people did. By the way, I love how Noah messes up the timeline so he can tell people that my viewers go and threaten people every time I make a video. First off, I don't know how Noah would know what those initial comments said because Alyssa deleted all of them. So all these comments he's using are from after the second video was released. Now, I don't condone these comments, but you can understand why some people might be a little extra mad and why some of the comments might be meaner after a creator tried to get someone deplatformed. If you don't like mean comments, it's perfectly fine to block them or pause your comment section for a bit. So no, viewers of mine don't just go threatening people every time I criticize someone like Noah suggested. Also, none of the YouTube comments he showed contained actual threats. This one was messed up and it would have been better if it wasn't said, but it's not a threat. So that statement from him saying that my first video caused her to get threatened is completely untrue. And what Noah is leaving out is that amongst those mean comments, there was also a lot of constructive criticism on Alyssa's video. Like I said, Alyssa deleted all of the initial comments that went against her, which I do believe is within her right. However, fortunately, somebody archived many of the ones giving constructive criticism or positive stories about how they fixed their health. So here are some of the comments that weren't written by assholes. And there were a ton of comments like these. To frame it as if all the comments were name-calling is very dishonest. Here's a comment telling people to not harass Alyssa, followed by a comment agreeing with it. But it adds just a little bit more important context to the situation when you point out, hey, these things here that Noah put in his video, I didn't say them. I actively disagree with these things, and using these comments to suggest that I said or believe these things is a really backhanded and messed up tactic from Noah. And by the way, to be clear, Noah doesn't just use this tactic once, he does this comment thing throughout the entire video to make his audience believe that I said a bunch of stuff that I did not say. Speaking of taking people out of context, a lot of Noah's video relies on the assumption that I maliciously took Alyssa out of context to frame her more negatively. In fact, his entire argument is based on that assumption. We'll get to those moments, but since we're talking about harassment, taking people out of context, and how Noah makes a pretty stringent effort to do every bad thing that he accuses his opponents of, let's talk about how he cut important context from my video and clipped it in a way that makes it look like I'm kind of in favor of harassment.
On the internet, things like doxing and harassment are often treated as natural law. Mean comments are inevitable. Even if you ask people not to, they'll still leave them. If people are going to take things too far, like doxing, then there's not much you can really do to stop it. This seems to be Sean's perspective on the matter.
This comment brigading behavior appears to just be a fact of nature that creators can't control. So really, it's on YouTube to make an interface change that addresses this problem.
The only real exemption from this excuse seems to be when a creator directly asks their audience to harass or dox someone. If that doesn't happen though, then sorry, it's the internet.
See how that cut he made kind of makes me look like a villain who is defending comment brigading? What's missing from that context was about a 1-minute rant about how it's wrong for people to leave mean comments on other channels, me saying it was okay for Alyssa to remove the ability to comment to prevent harassment, and me giving an incredibly simple change that YouTube can make right away that would heavily limit mean comments. Clearly I'm against it and I'm trying to discourage people from doing it. Why didn't Noah show or mention this? Now it is okay to cut nuance from someone else's video. Sometimes you have to do that because leaving the nuance in disrupts the timing or the pacing of the video, particularly if someone takes 5 minutes to explain a point that should take 10 seconds. So I don't mind if people cut context. But if there is important context that you cut that would alter your audience's opinion of the thing that you're reacting to, and you don't say something like, hey, I cut this out, I just want to let you know that he spent over a minute discouraging harassment, then that's bad faith, and I'm saying that Noah is acting in bad faith because he didn't do that. Instead, he cut that clip and spends the whole video basically arguing that I've cultivated this super toxic audience of angry incels, and these mean comments are something that's unique to my channel. This is despite the fact that in the past, Noah himself has encouraged comment brigading against another YouTuber who goes by Xanderhal.
It's a full video. You can watch the whole thing. Also, if you do go there, don't say anything mean, please. Just comment Squid Gang with 6 Gs.
Good times. Don't be mean, just dog whistle to other Noah followers. And I know that Noah considers this harassment because he clipped people saying that they watch Diesel Patches and Pegasus as examples of comments that were harassment. But a lot of Noah's argument banks on people not understanding how the internet works. Because as I said in the video about mass flagging, mean comments are something that happens anytime someone criticizes something. For example, anytime Noah reacts to a video of mine, I get a bunch of mean and negative comments from his audience like these. Since Noah has made it very clear in his video that he's keen on reading all the comments on my videos, surely he's seen at least some of these, right? Noah, for the sake of moral consistency, will you now admit that you are at least partially responsible for harassment and your videos on me caused me to get harassed by your audience? I'll wait. But just to make it crystal clear, no matter what a creator does, a small group of assholes will always be mean to whatever or whoever is being criticized. Here's Charlie White, or Moist Critical, one of the nicest people on YouTube, saying that people in his audience still brigade comment sections against his wishes.
I don't know how much more clear I can be when I say I can't stand it when people harass or insult someone or some community I make a video joking about. When I make a video, it's mainly for entertaining purposes. I never, ever want anyone going out of their way to harass and insult whoever or whatever it was about. I actively discourage that behavior, and it keeps happening. If the video is a complete joke, there's still some people that get so hateful towards whatever it was joking about that they'll go out of their way and harass them. I don't get it. Stop.
So yeah, YouTube. How about a subscriber-only mode on comment sections like you do for live streams? And by the way, this is not the only time that Noah cuts context to make me look worse than I am. Here's another example.
I want to talk about how Sean spends a good amount of his video insulting Illy's appearance under the guise of giving her tips on how to be more attractive.
She could easily be considered attractive by most people if she just stopped wearing those grandma glasses, picked better clothes, learned how to style her hair instead of always leaving it flat to her head with maximum forehead showing, and watched some makeup tutorials. Yeah, except Noah cut the part that came immediately before that statement where I said that she had good natural features. So let's add that back in. Here it is. Alyssa talks down about her appearance a lot in her videos. This is despite having decent features like strawberry blonde hair, blue eyes, and vibrant skin. She could easily be considered attractive by most people, so it's a little weird that Noah is quick to accuse people of taking things out of context when he removes very important context so he can tell people that I had some nefarious plan to use shady tactics to cause people to harass Alyssa and call her ugly, even though I openly shamed the people who were leaving mean comments and complimented her appearance in 3 different videos. Like, it's really weird that he would spend so much time in his video accusing me of being malicious and taking things out of context, and then remove context from his video that makes me look less malicious. Alright, let's get to the big accusations. So we already have the part where Noah accuses me of maliciously taking things out of context. He does that a bunch of times, and I'll get to the other ones later. But first, let's get to the main accusation, which is that I caused Alyssa, or Illymation, to get doxxed. Now, apparently Noah likes to use compilation super clips, so here's a compilation of some of the times that he said I was responsible for the doxing.
There's a more pressing issue at hand, which is that Sean's videos caused a doxing. Okay, so the second idea that Sean fabricates in his videos is that Illy tried to deplatform him. This idea drove the second, more serious wave of harassment, which is what led to Illy's doxing. Sean and the doxers don't just happen to hold the same opinions in some unrelated way. He's the reason they hold them. Whatever his intent might have been, she is being harassed, she was doxed, and these things would not have happened if it weren't for what he did. So it would be good if he acknowledged this situation so that hopefully his future videos don't lead to their targets getting doxed again.
So I actually counted 10 different instances of Noah saying that I caused the doxing. Now one might see Noah saying things like that and think, well, obviously this Think Before You Sleep guy got Alyssa doxed. But wait, technically Noah said that I didn't want the doxing to happen.
Do I think that Sean made his video with the intent of Illy getting doxed? No, I don't. He's well aware that a video of his causing a doxing isn't a great look for his channel.
I like how Noah picks the most sociopathic reason for why I wouldn't want someone to get doxed. No, it's not because I can empathize with how scary it is to have people threatening you and saying that they know where you live. It's because it would look bad for my channel. The irony of Noah not seeing how much of a projection that is. Anyway, I like how his entire argument was, I'm not accusing Sean of outwardly telling his fans to dox people. All I'm saying is that he crafted a master plan to fabricate misinformation about somebody to subconsciously inspire viewers to dox and threaten people he doesn't like. Yeah, because that accusation totally doesn't make me look much more evil than somebody who openly calls for doxing. Really though, After seeing this video, this all sounds like a massive projection, and it sounds like Noah is saying that he would hide his true intentions and spread misinformation to subconsciously manipulate his audience. To further clarify his standpoints, Noah released a follow-up video where he mostly just digs himself into a deeper hole and states that he did not accuse me of doxing.
Commenters and creators alike are repeating this around the web, saying that I accused him of doxing. None of them are showing proof or giving timestamps to evidence this claim because they can't, because those don't exist, because this didn't happen.
Yes, you did. And it wasn't a subtle thing either. You did it a lot during the video. Some semantic nuance of the definition of the word accused is not going to change the fact that this is essentially what you were doing and is how viewers are going to perceive it. In fact, you did it again at the end of this video too.
Tom then summarizes my messages to Sean.
So he's basically saying he believes you fabricated stuff about her, therefore they did this, therefore you are partially responsible, is basically what he's saying.
So he adds that qualifying word of partially, which is a more accurate summary of my claims, because it includes the caveat that I'm not saying that Sean is responsible in a definitive sense, one that would necessitate some kind of punishment. When he responds, though, Sean ignores that qualifier.
Yeah, he's basically saying that, I mean, he said it straight up in the video multiple times that I'm responsible for it, so I don't think, and even if he, backtracked and gaslighted on it and said, oh, no, I don't actually believe that, well, you still put it in the video multiple times, so you obviously do.
This is exactly why I did not use that word, responsible, because while yes, I do think Sean is responsible, absolutely. If I'd said so, if I'd used that word, then he would have immediately taken that as me saying he should be deplatformed.
So you're saying that you lied because you were afraid of a counter-argument I would make, but you do believe I'm responsible? Gee, misrepresenting your beliefs sounds a lot like something an honest person would do.
Even though I never claimed that he broke the rules, never called for his deplatforming, never argued for his video's removal, and never even commented one way or another on the validity of Illy's report.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that you're tiptoeing around this and not taking a side, even though you clearly have a bias and literally everyone else took a side. It sounds like you do think Alyssa mass flagging my channel is justified, but you won't say it because it would be unpopular. I guess that's just my opinion, but we haven't even gone over the most direct way that Noah accuses me of doxing. He flat out titled his video, Think Before You Dox, which immediately gives off the impression that I doxed somebody. Oh, but wait, Noah's got an explanation for that one too.
Sean here also claims that my video's title is basically a doxing accusation. Maybe I don't have to explain this one, but just in case. Think Before You Dox is a play on words about the fact that she got doxed and the fact that Sean's channel was a part of that process. This title does not specify action or intent.
Really? The person who is basically making the argument that your intent doesn't matter and how your audience perceives the message is all that does, is saying, well, I didn't intend the audience to perceive the title like that. Noah, do you see how stupid your whole argument of saying that I'm responsible for the doxing is? By your logic against me, it doesn't matter what your intent was, you are directly responsible for fostering the belief in people that I doxed Alyssa. So if you're going to say that I'm responsible for the actions of some unhinged people, which I'm not, then you're responsible for spreading misinformation with that title and making people think I doxed somebody. Noah's follow-up video is so full of sophistry that there should be a picture of it under the word in the dictionary. He banks his entire argument on the semantic nuances of morals and ethics, which is something that nobody in the general audience is going to understand.
When people ask, is Sean responsible for these people's actions? That question can be answered in two different ways, from a moral perspective and then from an ethical perspective.
Jim, come on, I don't need a lecture on ethics. Okay?
I'm not talking about ethics, I'm talking about morals.
What's the difference?
I love how there's an entire bit in a movie making fun of the stupidity of what Noah is doing here. Even Destiny is puzzled by this tactic.
Guys, I don't know. I've never in my life, even people that study philosophy, I don't think make distinctions between ethics and morals. It's such a weird distinction. I don't know. I don't know if I have no idea why he keeps doing this, but whatever.
I'm sure with a little thinking, Destiny can figure out why Noah might want to use logical loopholes to justify what he did. But really, Noah? As a YouTuber with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you didn't know that a large portion of people, if not almost everybody, would assume that I doxed Alyssa after reading that title? Are we actually going there? Are you going to play dumb when, judging by your video titles and thumbnails, you obviously know how to clickbait and attract people's attention based on how an audience will perceive your video at a first glance? This feigning ignorance thing that you're doing is not believable to anyone with a brain. But okay, let's play along. How are people perceiving this? Well, I found an example from a YouTuber named Gokanaru, who doesn't really know who I am, and this video Noah made was his first exposure to the Illymation drama. Let's hear how he perceived that title.
I'm actually kind of a noob on Think Before You Sleep. The title is Think Before You Dox, right? And I read that title, and that's why I watched the video. I was like, damn, that's juicy. What the fuck? Think Before You Sleep dox this woman? And
that was my understanding from the title. Yeah. That was my immediate conclusion. That's not what happened at all.
Yeah, who wouldn't come to that conclusion? And it's not just Gokunaru and Turkey Tom saying this. A number of people who watched that video strangely have the perception that I doxed Alyssa. Where would they get that idea?
Obviously, if you see that fucking title, you're gonna think that you doxed
before
her.
you die. Yeah,
when you got her running with the fucking Eye of Sauron shining on her.
That's kind of dumb, but okay.
Now, all of this is really funny to me because Noah will do all this hyper-analytical shit about how he's the smart one, who is media literate like that cool, nerdy anime guy who pushes up his glasses right before he's about to explain the plot. But then he'll go, duh, I didn't know that this title would cause people to think that you doxed Alyssa. That wasn't my intention. I'm not ethically responsible for this. How is it that Noah can be so intelligent in an area that benefits him, but be so stupid when it doesn't? Remember, he bragged about how he was so good at analyzing media because he knew how people are supposed to interpret this image, and then he told me to go take a media literacy course.
Please, I beg of you, go take a media literacy course. God, my God.
Okay, fine. Since everyone learns everything on YouTube these days, let's just Google it, and here's what I found.
In this series, we'll be using the definition of media literacy that's used by the National Association of Media Literacy Educators. And it describes media literacy as the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act using all forms of communication. The message the creator wants to send is written in a code of sorts using a host of pre-understood meanings, symbols, and definitions that they think or hope the recipient will understand. But the recipient, that's you, has their own mental dictionary full of meanings, symbols, and definitions. When someone interprets a message, they decode it by applying their knowledge and experience to decipher its meaning.
Normally, I would just call that neurolinguistic programming and not encoding and decoding, but whatever. They also use this definition, and considering that Noah touted how good he is at media literacy in this video, I can imagine that somebody as intelligent as him would be able to accurately predict how audiences would decode his title. So Noah, when you say, that's not what I intended, understand why I think you're full of shit. Now, like I said, during his video, Noah does give some sort of nuance to his case of how him accusing me of doxing is not him accusing me of doxing, in a way that nobody who didn't waste their money on a communications degree or a philosophy degree is going to understand. You guys can watch the video for yourself and see if you can explain the reasoning better, but basically, I think he's saying that I'm responsible for the doxing, because I made some videos, and people who claim to watch those videos doxed her.
Again, I think I take a stronger stance on this than you. I think you have a lot of responsibility over your audience, but like, it's not even his audience, it's 4chan. This is like, people attack me over my audience, I'm like, where? And they'll show me like crazy people on Twitter. It's like, I can't moderate them, I can't do anything. People in my comment section don't say this, people in my chat don't say this, people in any of my chats or any in my Discord don't say this. Like, I can't help with like random people on fucking Twitter, just like I can't help with random fucking crazy people on or 4chan. Like, why the fuck am I being held to account for that audience? And the fact that he can only show comments from there, I think it severely undermines the culpability supposedly that this guy has. Because if it was his video, like pushing people that far, well, shouldn't the comments be reflective in his own audience?
Well said. I will also note that this happened after like 100 different YouTubers reacted to the Illymation drama, so Noah really has no evidence that these people are actual regular viewers of my channel, or if they heard about it from someone covering the drama who was less charitable. But okay, let's follow his logic again. Now, I noticed that something was missing from Noah's follow-up video when he read my tweet. This part here. The part where I said that after he released his video, I started receiving threats. Strange that he didn't talk about this during his video when the whole point of this video chain of his is to talk about how bad harassment and threats are. I'm being harassed and I'm being threatened, and yet Noah is silent. By the way, Noah makes this kind of content that he's criticizing me for all the time. He doesn't do it in the nicest way. He vilifies his opponent in every video I've watched, and he's wrong a lot, so I don't know how he has the audacity to pretend that he has the moral high ground here. He does the same shit, but with far less accuracy and charitability. I've gotten comment brigaded every time he's made a video on me. Though the bigger question is, why is this stuff being focused on instead of the people who are actually guilty of the doxing? Anyway, Alyssa proceeded to cross the line and try to get my video flagged down, which could have easily resulted in deplatforming because YouTube is very inconsistent with their rules. And even after that, after she came after my source of income because she couldn't handle criticism that is way lighter than the people she brags about being friends with, after that, I openly said that it was wrong that she got doxxed. Unlike Noah, who was a coward for not taking a stance on anything, I think what Alyssa did was very wrong, and I do not like her as a person, but I also think that doxing is objectively worse than what Alyssa did to me, and I hope she's okay. I mean, I really don't like Noah, but if Noah got doxed or if Noah got threatened, I'd be openly against that too. But Noah is so sociopathic that he can't even pause for a second in his follow-up video to say that an opponent being threatened is wrong. It's really all just about winning to him, and it seems to me like doxing and threats are okay to Noah, as long as they're against the right people. Noah, you know I was threatened. My tweet saying it was in your video. As Mr. Audience Responsibility, shouldn't there be at least some sort of plea to your followers to not threaten people? Well, maybe not, because I'm old enough to remember that Noah Samsen liked a death threat against Vaush after he lost a debate to him. So since we're talking about ethics or morals or word semantics or whatever, is this person who is threatening me your fault, Noah? Did you not make a hit piece on me that vilified me and directly inspired this comment? Is this person here telling me to end my life your fault? Well, no, it's not, because these people are unhinged, and Noah didn't call for doxing or find some roundabout way to endorse it, so accusing Noah of being responsible for what these people chose to do is stupid. Just like it's stupid for him to claim that I'm responsible for Alyssa's dox. Obviously, he believes all this is dumb, because if he didn't believe it, he would have apologized for how he framed me in that video, and would have shown sympathy after he read about me getting threats. So quit the bullshit, Noah. How many instances do I have to show of you not following your own standards? Remember, guys, he still has never admitted to his audience that he didn't read those studies from the Dove video after he explicitly made fun of me for being lazy and saying I was bad at research, when the fact of the matter is that he is so allergic to investigative work that he thinks it takes hours to scroll down the social media feed of someone who barely posts. If he actually fact-checked things, then he wouldn't have made a claim that was so wildly off from reality. So how many false accusations are we at? I've been accused of secretly pushing my audience to harass people, I've been accused of doxing, and now Noah is accusing me of being anti-Semitic.
The comment section on Illy's video went through some changes. It was flooded with hate comments, threats, insults, inflammatory accusations, also a lot of anti-Semitism, so that's kind of weird.
Weird, because I could have sworn that those were other people's words, not mine. So why is he using this to make people believe that I share these ideas? Where have I said anti-Semitic things or encouraged anti-Semitism? So that's false accusation number 3, and here's the next one.
One of the main concluding points of Sean's video is that Illy's advice is going to kill people by causing them to eat themselves into an early grave.
You know what's great about this advice? Because you conflated being overweight with extreme obesity, so you could say that both are healthy, what's going to happen is that people who watch this video that are 300 pounds are going to say, see, Alyssa is fine with being overweight, I don't have to change either. And then they'll eat themselves into an early grave.
Note that it's not just it might happen, he said that it's going to happen. So it's sort of a direct accusation there, just so we're clear about that. Now, that's a pretty serious accusation, right? The severity of these accusations is then compounded by his immediate reminder to viewers that her audience is probably full of children. The implication here is that Illy's video may end up directly harming or possibly killing children. If we hold him to all the assertions he's made here, that's what the video is telling us.
Wow, I have never seen such a stretch before. You're arguing something that I'm obviously not saying. You watched the video, right? Clearly I'm not saying that children are going to die from this. What child is 300 pounds? That was my wording there. Even if they are, that's almost certainly not going to cause them to die until they are much older, like at least 30, and only if they're big enough to be on an episode of My 600-Pound Life. And the interesting thing about that is that I actually gave nuance to this situation that lets people know that I'm not saying that kids are going to die from this in an argument that I made about a minute before that moment that Noah is responding to. I showed a clip of Aubrey Gordon and Michael Hobbs saying that morbid obesity shortens your lifespan, and obviously when I'm saying early grave, I'm talking about people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, not 13-year-olds. I don't know how someone could have missed that, unless they are avidly trying to misconstrue every argument with the least fair interpretation. However, the purpose of bringing up children was to point out that Alyssa models bad behaviors that will set them up poorly for adulthood, not that a child is going to die from eating too much pizza. That's highly unlikely.
Starting bad dieting habits when you're a kid, you will never escape them. I read something that like only 2% of people that hit the obese BMI thing ever make it back to normal BMI. 2%. It's really hard to start with really bad eating habits as a kid and then to make it back when you're an adult.
Thanks, Destiny. That essentially was my argument. Outside of that, being morbidly obese will absolutely shorten your life, and that is not a fabrication like Noah said. That's science. So accusing me of saying that what Alyssa is doing will cause children to die is Noah's fourth false accusation. Here's number 5.
He also claims that because of this sequence, the message of her video is that she endorses drug abuse.
Stop writing criticism off as malicious concern trolling when the ending message of your video was effectively, if you can't stop doing drugs, then drugs aren't bad, and you should take whatever drugs you want and as many drugs as you want.
This was yet another inflammatory statement that was mainlined into the beautiful working brains of the people harassing her.
Why did you just sell me drugs? Next video, the perks of popping pills.
Should I be celebrated for my lifestyle choices? Gather round and cheer me on while I drink heavily 5 days a week. I'm an alcoholic. Accept me.
That was a metaphor for comparison, Noah. It's to point out how ridiculous the mainstream fat acceptance narrative is. I'm not literally saying that she's telling people to go do drugs, and neither are those commenters. They are poking fun at the acceptance of unhealthy behaviors because it's completely okay to stigmatize similarly unhealthy behaviors like smoking or drinking, but you can't stigmatize overeating. Last but not least, Noah accuses me of intentionally crafting a narrative to try to get someone to end Alyssa's life.
This comment is from the doxing thread. They stated they were going to visit her in California. They said they wanted her dead, and at that point, they knew where she lived. Thankfully, Illy was able to move before anything violent happened, but if this person, for example, had taken action, Sean's video very well could have been what pushed them over the edge.
You've got to be kidding me. He did not just say that. So if someone hurts a bunch of people and shouts, "I love Bernie Sanders," 5 times, is Bernie Sanders responsible for what that guy did? Or let's bring it back to YouTubers. If H-Bomber Guy makes a video exposing James Somerton for being a content thief, is H-Bomber Guy responsible if James ends his life? No, obviously not. These people are adults and they can make their own decisions. Are we supposed to never criticize people because something bad might happen? This leap in logic is crazy. To Noah, apparently me saying Alyssa promoting a mindset that will encourage obesity is wrong because obesity causes health problems is me saying that she should have her life ended because she promotes ideas that I don't like. Who said that? Anyone who's not in Noah Samsen's radical leftist echo chamber would reasonably conclude something like, Sean said she's encouraging behaviors and ideas that lead to obesity. Maybe what should happen is that she should stop doing that. And I say radical leftist because remember that drama that Noah got into with Vaush? Well, a major reason for that drama was because Noah was defending a racist woman named Professor Flowers who believed that white people should be violently removed from their homes, possibly genocided if they refuse to move out of colonized lands or whatever, so she can get what's due to black people for issues that these white people took no part in. I don't use the term radical leftist lightly, and I mean it when I say it. But this whole accusing someone of violent extremism from Noah, despite him going out of his way to defend a violent extremist, is not a one-off event for Noah. Look at what he accused a Cheeto of.
Okay, so it's good that the mom eventually said, like, yeah, I wouldn't force my kid to be gay or LGBT, because that's sort of what it was sounding like for a little bit.
Yet the title remains. Psycho TikTok mom accidentally gets exposed. Dishonestly framing the content in this way is playing into the whole gay agenda LGBTQ groomer panic, one that is stoked by demonic accounts like Libs of TikTok and then echoed by useful idiots like a Cheeto, and has led to literal hate crimes. Just yesterday, another bomb threat was called into the Boston Children's Hospital, all over a false story not unlike this one being spread by that media pipeline. Is this what we are calling critical thinking now? Because I disagree.
How do we go from maybe a Cheeto should have chosen a different title to a Cheeto is responsible for a bomb threat? Noah is known for mischaracterizing people, doing terrible research, and making outlandish accusations like this, which is why he has a habit of losing every major drama he gets into. Now that I've covered some of the bigger stuff here, let's rewind a little bit and move back to what actually started the Illymation drama, which was that I made a video that Alyssa didn't like, and instead of ignoring it or responding to it like any other creator would do, she decided to go to her audience and have them flag the video. Noah spends quite a bit of time in his video defending her for doing this.
Okay, so the second idea that Sean fabricates in his videos is that Illy tried to deplatform him. So is this what actually happened? Well, why don't we take a look at the evidence? As I mentioned in the intro, there's only one piece of evidence that Sean has presented for every accusation he's made here, and that's Illy's Tumblr post. Specifically, its last line, which reads, "If you or anyone else comes across this video, please report it for cyberbullying."
Do I need more than one piece of evidence for this? This was the thing that she did. I mean, if Sniper Wolf doxes Jack's film, does it not count because people only saw her doing it on Instagram? Why would I need more than the Tumblr post? Well, fortunately, because Noah asked, I actually do have more evidence of her asking people to flag me, thanks to her good old friend Dylan. Dylan, who, by the way, after the doxing happened, I advised to stop malding on Twitter about the drama because it was making things worse for Alyssa by signal boosting the dox. Well, he responded to that request by completely throwing Alyssa under the bus to help clear his name from the accusation that he caused Alyssa to want to deplatform me. So thanks to Dylan, not only do we have Alyssa's Tumblr post, but we now have her lying to her Discord friends, saying that I sent my fans to harass her, and we have her telling them to report the video several days before the Tumblr post. So let's look at this a little closer. Here we can see a bunch of her friends reporting the video, and Dylan saying he's going to watch the video at the bottom. And this message here kind of looks like a threat. Legally it's not, but based on Noah's definition, this would be a threat. Alyssa responds with a thank you and a cat emoji. Also, thanks to Dylan, you can see the date and time that this all occurred, which was February 29th at 12:54 a.m. Now, I don't remember what time I uploaded this video, so I plugged it into a YouTube metadata website, and adjusting for Alyssa's time zone, it says that I uploaded it on February 28th at 3:13 p.m. Now, we still don't know if she actually watched the video based on these messages, but this is all interesting to me because we were initially led to believe that Alyssa waited until March 3rd to call for the mass flagging on her Tumblr page. But these messages show that she didn't even wait half a day to think if this was an appropriate thing to do. Her immediate reaction was to not watch the video, assume that I called for a hate mob against her without any context of what was in the video because no one had watched it at this point, and finally, she called on her friends to mass flag the video 9 hours after it was uploaded. And this is being super charitable and assuming that she was informed about this immediately on upload. What is actually more likely to have happened is that she was informed about this a lot closer to 12 a.m. than the time of the upload, and called for the mass flagging shortly after, followed by her giving approval to a friend's comment saying that I should keep myself safe. Now, I understand that she got doxxed, and I do maintain that was heavily messed up and she did not deserve that, but is this the poor, innocent victim that Noah is portraying her as? A person who gets a few blockable mean comments that every YouTuber gets and immediately goes scorched earth? Keep in mind that before Alyssa decided to send a pitchfork mob after me, she did not watch the video, nor did she read the rules to see if it was actually in violation of the cyberbullying policy on YouTube. To which, by the way, if you watch the video on 2x speed, both of these things can be done in about 25 minutes. It's not that much work. But isn't this the exact kind of misinformation behavior that Noah is saying is wrong? Did he not basically accuse a Cheeto of being responsible for things like bomb threats over less? Now, a lot of Noah's argument hinges on calling me a whiny baby because I said that Alyssa asked people within her 2.5 million person following to flag my channel. He basically says, boo-hoo, it only happened on her Tumblr, which only has about 2,000 followers. Well, anyone who has spoken out against LowlyCon knows that it doesn't take that many people to maliciously flag every single post on your Twitter account. It takes maybe like 10 weirdos on Discord to make a bunch of alt accounts and do it that way. Second, I don't know who's in Alyssa's Discord or who she's group chatting about this. I don't know if it's another one of her creator friends like Emmy Richu or Hassan or AlphaRad. If one of those huge creators makes a video on this situation and sides with mass flagging like Dylan did, then my channel could be screwed. Moving on, Noah spends some time teaching his audience about how the YouTube system works.
Now, viewers that are paying attention right now may notice that this post doesn't say anything about deplatforming. This post asks her followers to report the video. Reporting and deplatforming are not the same thing. Just because a report can lead to a deplatforming does not make these terms interchangeable.
I swear, if Noah makes me facepalm anymore from stupid arguments, I'm going to get brain damage. So he makes a bunch of baseless claims saying that I'm responsible for doxing because I made a video defending myself against a mass flagging, where I also shamed harassment behavior, yet one of his friends making a direct call to action to do something that can easily lead to a deplatforming is not a deplatforming attempt? It only counts as a deplatforming attempt if she says the word deplatforming. Just say you have no morals, Noah. This is all about what team someone is on. But please, explain to us why this could not possibly lead to a deplatforming.
To understand why that is, let's take a minute to walk through how the deplatforming process actually works. In order for a YouTube channel to be terminated, it has to receive 3 channel strikes. Channel strikes are usually issued when a video is reported, that report is reviewed, and the reviewers determine that the video has violated the YouTube community guidelines. I say usually because there's quite a few other things that can happen. If, for example, it's your channel's first time violating the guidelines, you'll most likely get let off with with a warning. This warning can be dismissed after 90 days by taking a policy training. If a warning is issued, it can be appealed. An appeal is when you argue your case that the video has been flagged by mistake. If the appeal is granted, then the warning is removed and your eligibility for receiving a warning on your next violation will be reset. There's a few other things to go over here though. Just like the warnings, channel strikes can also be appealed. Were he to receive a strike, Sean would again have the opportunity to argue his case for why he thinks the reviewers got it wrong. If the appeal he submitted were to be granted, his video would go back up and the strike would be removed from his channel. The important thing here though is that even if he had been issued a warning, appealed the warning, lost the appeal, then received a strike, then appealed that strike and lost that appeal, finally actually getting a strike, that's still not deplatforming. That's step 1 to deplatforming.
Now this is crazy. He thinks that YouTube actually enforces its rules consistently. Noah, you've been on this website before, right? Have you paid any attention to what's been going on with YouTube over the past 8 years? YouTube is well known for being inconsistent with its enforcement policy or giving people strikes for ridiculous things. For example, Markiplier and Moist Critical were famously given a strike for a video of a bunch of mascots doing a fake play fight as a comedy bit. YouTube flagged that video as showing extreme violence, doubled down by upholding the strike on its appeal, and only removed that strike after a huge drama was created over it.
Now, I don't really care about the video itself getting taken down. What I do care about is YouTube's uneven application of their own rules. There's clearly an issue with improper application, or at least uneven application of YouTube's community guidelines.
YouTube also regularly does not follow the 3-strike rule and has deleted channels that had no strikes on them, like I Hate Everything because he destroyed a DVD, or they'll delete your channel with no strikes if you have the wrong political beliefs. Noah also mentions Leafy in this video, which is funny because Leafy was famously banned with no strikes. Now let me be clear, I do not like Leafy. I think he's a drug addict and a horrible person who got rich off of making fun of children and mentally disabled people. That being said, according to The Verge, YouTube had been implementing some policy changes because of the fight between Steven Crowder and Champagne socialist multi-millionaire trust fund kid Carlos Maza. This was the fight that resulted in the adpocalypse, and YouTube's policy changes resulted in 2 of Leafy's videos getting struck in June of 2020. One of them was on H3H3, and the other was on I'm Alex. I don't have the H3H3 video, but I found the I'm Alex one, and there is no way that it qualifies as harassment. This was the worst thing that Leafy said about Alex.
Honestly, I don't like anything about you. I don't like your face. I don't like your videos. I don't like the way you dress. I don't like the way you talk. I don't like anything about you. And even if you cured cancer, I still don't even think I would like you because something about you I just don't like.
Again, I don't like Leafy, but this take from him on Alex ended up being incredibly accurate from the looks of this recent drama between Alex and his ex. Anyway, The Verge and its historically inaccurate reporting left out the fact that the strikes that Leafy received were removed after he complained on Twitter. Fortunately, here's I'm Alex clearing that up.
The video that he did on me got struck down, and I swear I had nothing to do with that.
But then it got put back up, so surely the strike
And then it got
removed.
put back up. So, like, he did get warnings, but then YouTube went, hey, here's some warnings, and they put the videos back up. So,
Yeah.
I don't really understand that, because the H3H3 video got striked in it as well.
Yeah.
If the strikes that were on the community guidelines for the video on me and the one on H3H3, if they just
No, your one
stood-
got reinstated. If your got reinstated, that's
if they'd have stood, if they'd have stood, I would have understood why his channel was taken out, but they didn't stand. They rescinded those.
So after all this, Leafy made a bunch of videos on Pokimane, and YouTube, instead of removing the videos and giving him a single strike for the entire incident, which would allow Leafy a chance to correct his behavior, they struck all the videos at once and deleted his channel.
Even if you absolutely hate Leafy, hate everything about him, you still shouldn't be happy that he got banned this way, because to my understanding, he had 0 strikes on his account before it was completely just fucking eradicated from existence. And if it can happen to a 5 million subscriber channel, it can happen to any channel. Now, I do understand YouTube has a rule on harassment, and you can argue he broke that rule, so that should have been a strike. But I don't think it should have been a strike for each instance of the potential rule break. It should have been 1 strike for that entire thing, and maybe give him a warning like, look, this is harassment, don't do it again going forward, you know? Hit the brakes a little bit. You see, you could extend this harassment here to pretty much every late night TV host. A reoccurring theme in late night hosts is insulting Donald Trump. Couldn't you make that same argument that they target Donald Trump just the same way Leafy did for Pokimane? And they've done a lot more than just 12 segments shitting on him. The fact that YouTube took action this quickly without warning is a scary thing to see going forward, because maybe the definition of harassment starts to get a little more vague and a little more blurred, and you don't really know what starts to classify as harassment or targeted threats or bullying or whatever.
Yeah, even if you don't like Leafy, this should kind of terrify you as a creator. Not that Noah would actually have to know about these events, because in Noah's own video, he posted a page on screen that says, YouTube may remove your channel with no prior strikes if the event is serious enough, though he hovers a monkey over it, which makes it harder to see. But what qualifies as serious enough or predatory behavior? Well, they didn't define it, so it could be anything.
If what you're saying is true, then why are we whining about it? Sean has nothing to worry about. The review will come up negative. If it doesn't, then he can appeal, and if he didn't break the rules, then he'll win that appeal.
See, guys, it's not that bad. If he didn't break any rules, then he can just appeal it and YouTube will realize their mistake and reinstate the video. Gee, thanks. I'm sorry, sir, that someone reported you for a crime that you didn't commit and you had to spend months being investigated and standing trial. But don't worry, if you aren't guilty, then you have nothing to worry about. Isn't that the same line of thinking that the government uses to violate the Fourth Amendment by mass surveilling people? If you aren't a terrorist, then it shouldn't bother you that we use the Patriot Act to tap all your phones. I guess Noah wasn't around for the Bush era, though imagine if I did this to Alyssa. Imagine if I said, oh come on, stop being a baby. Doxing isn't that bad. All they're going to do is send you free pizza. You don't like free pizza? That's basically what Noah did to me. Keep in mind how bad this is. Multiple people who hate me reacted to this situation, and despite disagreeing with me the whole video and saying they don't like me, they still said the mass flagging was wrong.
Ugh, he's so unlikable, but I don't want him to get his channel taken down over a false flag, but he's so annoying. He made a comment. He had an opinion. It was not cyberbullying.
I understand where her feelings are coming from, but you shouldn't be calling for people's to active deplatforming if they haven't violated the rules.
That was Brittany Simon and Papa Gut, and I will note that Papa Gut has reacted to like 20 of my videos and basically thinks I'm a bad faith grifter, yet he is still empathetic enough to say that trying to take someone's income away because they didn't like a video of yours is wrong. Let's get back to Noah and the rules.
As I said before, deplatforming requires 3 channel strikes. What I neglected to mention, though, is that these strikes expire after 90 days. And in order to actually have your channel terminated, you need to get all 3 of them within that same 90-day period. This means that Sean would have to go through this whole process 3 separate times in a period of 3 months or less. This is what YouTube officials refer to as being a very naughty boy. The only possible way he could call Illy's post an attempted deplatforming in good faith is if all those prerequisites had been met.
Okay, but it's not though. Either Noah is being willfully ignorant here, or he is genuinely not aware of how these things work. Let me comment on this as someone who knows someone who has been deplatformed personally. At the end of that video that I made about Alyssa's mass flagging campaign, I brought up Eliza Blue, who famously caused a lot of drama for deplatforming Brittany Venti on Twitter. All Brittany did was ask Eliza about a music video that she was in. Pretty neutrally, actually, not even accusatory. What Brittany wasn't aware of is that Eliza didn't like people talking about that music video because it exposed that she was lying about being a victim of sex trafficking, which would hurt her career. So Eliza went to one of her friends at the Twitter Trust and Safety team and got that friend to ban Brittany's account. And then she followed it up by flagging videos that Brittany made talking about her suspension and was, unfortunately, able to successfully get some of those removed. That was one person with connections doing that. So when I say that Alyssa has a big following, a 2.5 million person following, and is a featured creator at VidCon, I have no idea if she, like Eliza Blue, has a connection that can get me deplatformed. Even if she doesn't, I have no idea how vicious her fan base is, and it doesn't take that many people to make a mass flagging work. Not only that, but mass flaggers don't just report one video. They report every video. So the claims I made aren't that hyperbolic, considering that I made 3 videos on this. They could have all been reported, and if they all got struck, my channel goes down. This is all made worse when you point out that Alyssa admitted to not knowing what was in the video.
The third and final element to this deplatforming accusation is the implication that Illy was false flagging.
By rallying her audience to falsely flag Think Before You Sleep's video.
Send your fans and friends to false flag another individual.
She was false flagging his channel, being malicious and trying to get the video taken down for whatever you can.
Alright, so Illy was asking people to report his video while knowing that it wasn't reportable. That's the claim. Now, let's first establish that there's no actual evidence for this argument. All of Illy's posts pretty clearly indicate that her intent in flagging the video was to stop the harassment it was, and still is, causing. None of these posts show her to be knowingly asking for a false flag.
Sorry to actually this, but I just want to point out that Noah yet again uses other people's arguments to make it look like I was accusing Alyssa of reporting the video even though she knew it didn't break the rules. I didn't do that. Other people did. Why are they being brought into this when your claims are against me, especially without clarifying to your audience that those weren't my words? I said she had no idea what was in the video because she didn't watch it, so how would she know if it broke the rules or not? That's not the same thing as saying that she's flagging my video falsely, knowing that it didn't break any rules. It is genuinely annoying to watch Noah over and over again accuse me of things that I did not actually say. But on that note, it is again extremely ironic to watch Noah make a whole video accusing me of spreading misinformation as he actively white knights for Alyssa not watching my video and telling people in her audience that it met the requirements for YouTube's definition of cyberbullying and should be reported. Noah, just say that you don't care about morals or consistency because I've watched you trample all over your morals in this video. Or was it ethics? I'm not sure. Though here's more of Noah rubber stamping misinformation from his team by telling Alyssa that she does not have to fact check the video before telling her audience to report it.
So now we're down to just the final argument, which is that Illy's report was false flagging because she didn't even watch the video before reporting it. She went solely off of her friend's biased summary, and that's a false flag because she didn't even know what he said. This last argument is purely a moral one, right? Because it has no grounds within the guidelines. There's nothing in the rules that says you can't report a video based on a rundown from a trusted source. They don't make you plug in an eye tracker and play the full thing before you click flag. The moral claim here is that you should hear out the criticism. It's the right thing to do. Until you do, you have no idea what he's saying, whether or not it's actually bullying, and who knows? Maybe he has a point. Maybe it's worth listening to. Since this is a strictly moral question, there's no real objective way to answer it, so I'll just give my opinion. No. Illy didn't ask for this criticism. His video was totally unsolicited. That doesn't mean I think Sean shouldn't be allowed to make his video, but I also don't think that Illy should be expected to sit through it either, especially given the immediate abundance of evidence that the video inspired a harassment campaign. Doesn't strike me as some giant leap in logic for her to assume that it may have been made in bad faith. Like, imagine one of your friends comes to you and says, hey, some random 850,000 subscriber YouTube channel made a weird, dishonest, and unnecessarily mean video about you, and that's when you notice the hundreds of comments harassing you for things your friend mentioned being in the video. If you were to then say, yeah, I'm good on that, not worth sitting through that probably, that seems like a pretty normal thing to do. Don't mistake my argument here as me saying people should just start flagging videos for no reason just because they don't like someone. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what Illy did. My point here is simply that the circumstances of this situation to me seem clearly within the bounds of a reasonable response, a practical solution to a pressing problem.
Wait, what? Did Noah just endorse mass flagging at the end there by saying her response was a reasonable reaction to my video? But didn't he say that he didn't endorse mass flagging?
I never commented one way or another about the morality of mass flagging. I didn't say it was good or bad. And just because I didn't denounce it doesn't mean that I endorse it. My point here is simply that the circumstances of this situation to me seem clearly within the bounds of a reasonable response.
Oh shit. I think Noah said the quiet part out loud on accident and forgot about it in his follow-up video. Calling Alyssa's response reasonable is an endorsement of her mass flagging me. There's a difference between saying, I can see why she did that from her perspective, versus saying that her response was a reasonable thing to do instead of just blocking comments. Anyway, responsibility to watch the video begins when she makes a public statement about it. If she wants to ignore criticism, then she can do that in the privacy of her own home. But if she's going to rally a hate mob against somebody and not be accused of spreading misinformation, then maybe she should watch the video and read the rules. I don't understand how Noah can make a 1-hour video saying how it's wrong to spread misinformation, while in that same video, he endorses his friend doing that exact thing because she didn't take the time to make sure that her accusation of cyberbullying was accurate. Does nobody see the irony here? But I guess that doesn't matter because Noah has found that YouTube said that mass flagging does not work.
Sean calling Illy's report an attempted deplatforming is at best a very uninformed interpretation of the situation, and at worst, dishonest. In terms of YouTube's review process, mass flagging doesn't actually do anything. The amount of flags that a video receives has no bearing on the reviewer's decisions. Here is YouTube's global head of trust and safety, Matt Halprin, explaining that.
It doesn't matter whether there's one flag, 1,000 flags, 10,000 flags, flags, it literally makes no difference into how the evaluation works or whether content should stay up or stay down.
Here's this guy from YouTube's Creator Insider channel saying the same thing.
Sometimes a video with lots of flags is a result of what the team calls brigading, meaning a large group of people have tried to gang up on the video in an attempt to take it down, even though it doesn't violate a policy. Can they take it down? No. Again, all videos are evaluated under the same policies, no matter how many flags they have.
Yeah, that's a lie, and no YouTuber believes that. I've personally seen it work, and everybody knows that mass flagging does work, which is why all these creators shamed it. We all stand together on this because none of us wants it to happen to us. And of course YouTube is not going to come out and say, yeah, mass flagging totally works. That would be terrible PR. All right, let's do one more clip of Noah talking about the rules.
Despite its silliness, though, that didn't stop some of these guys from essentially making this same claim.
Do you know what's actually in violation of YouTube's bullying and harassment rules? This Tumblr post.
What she's doing with this post right here does actually break YouTube's terms of service.
Interestingly, Sean doesn't cite the rule that she allegedly broke here, which is why no one else cited it either. They get all of their information from each other's videos and nothing more. Drama YouTube is an epistemological human centipede. I can't find the rule that Sean is referring to here, so let us know when you respond.
Again, let's play this out. Imagine if I said, why is it a big deal that Alyssa got doxxed? You know it's not really against the law, right? It's all just public information. I mean, you've always been able to find out where people live in a phone book. Do you not see how this hypothetical argument sounds a lot like a person is saying that doxing is okay because for the most part, it's not illegal. Yet. I'll wait for Noah to counter this with more gaslighting, even though he spent a bunch of time walking his audience down the exact path that would lead them to the conclusion that it's okay to mass flag channels that didn't break the rules just because you don't like them. Well, like I said, mass flagging and abuse of YouTube's reporting system is against the rules. I'm shocked that Noah even questions this. Obviously, this would be against the rules because YouTube would be a hellscape if it wasn't. Noah, you're familiar with the cyberbullying section of YouTube, right? Well, in the examples section of that page, it says that you're not allowed to send your followers to mass harass a channel. And then at the bottom it says, these are just examples. More things are against the rules. So one might assume that if you can't send your followers to harass another creator, which is something that Noah did to Xanderhal, by the way, Noah is literally the biggest hypocrite on the planet. But if you can't send your followers to harass another creator, and YouTube is saying that more things are against the rules, then one might assume that they would also deem malicious flagging because you don't like someone else's opinion to be against the rules. Now, if that's not good enough for you because it's not directly saying that mass flagging is against the rules, then here's the YouTube TOS saying that you aren't allowed to abuse the reporting system. I think that most people would agree that telling your followers to report a video without watching it would be considered a groundless or frivolous submission, or maybe vexatious, whatever that word means. But it's good to see that Noah still sucks at research. Okay, so now that we've gone over all the rules, let's go over what actually ended up happening. So less than one day after Noah Samsen released a video accusing me of doxing Alyssa, accusing me of sending people to harass her, accusing me of making a video designed to get people to physically harm her in real life, followed by roughly a 10-minute rant about how mass flagging isn't that bad, called me a baby for saying it's wrong, doesn't condemn mass flagging himself, and in fact says that Alyssa's response was reasonable and tells his audience that mass flagging is not against the rules. So less than 24 hours after all that, mysteriously my video was taken down and I received a channel strike. Now I don't have direct evidence that Noah's video caused this, but what an extreme coincidence, especially considering that Alyssa had been trying to get the video taken down for 2 months, and it happened less than a day after one of her friends essentially made a video promoting mass flagging. The rule YouTube said I broke was a rule against cyberbullying for making fun of someone's intrinsic traits or using racial slurs. I didn't do either of those things, so I did what Noah said to do and filed an appeal for the strike. They denied it. But they didn't just deny it. Look at the timestamps on this. The strike was issued at 5:14 a.m. I would guess that it took me around 15 to 20 minutes to see it and appeal the strike. Well, at 5:43 a.m., it got rejected. Now, for those of you doing the math, that video is 37 minutes long. So if my video was appealed 15 to 20 minutes after I saw this, then that would give a person 10 to 15 minutes to watch the video. Now, giving YouTube the highest amount of generosity and saying that I sent my appeal, they immediately said my appeal is priority number 1 and watched it right away. 10 to 15 minutes is not enough time to watch a 37-minute video, even on double speed. So what most likely happened is that YouTube just auto-rejected the appeal, or instead of it being a human review, it's actually AI, and the AI sucks. Look at this message. We've looked at your content again carefully. Yeah, sure. Now what I find strange is that Noah is trying to clear everything up and be the good guy here, but he fails to mention that in his follow-up video that I put my faith in the system, and the system screwed me over. He read the Twitter post that I made talking about it in his video, so he must have known about it, yet instead of admitting that he was wrong about the YouTube appeals process, he just swept that under the rug. But I have a question, Noah. If you think that it was okay for people who didn't watch my video to report it, can you tell me what rule I broke? How did my video violate these terms? Surely you can give me some reasoning here, and I think it's in your best interest to do that because you do understand that, as I said before, your content is quite often meaner than my content, and if my video goes down, then so will a lot of yours. I said that on Twitter, actually. Noah responded to it in his follow-up video by saying this.
As for those lines about intrinsic traits, I'm glad Sean brought up the thing about his voice. I see this a lot, both Sean and his fans arguing that the comments making fun of his voice are making fun of an intrinsic characteristic, and thus, by YouTube's guidelines, this is bullying and technically a reportable offense. But this is kind of a sneaky little trick here. Sean's video voice is not an intrinsic characteristic because it's not his actual voice. His actual voice is pretty normal. If you can change it, then it's not immutable, man.
Wow, such a strange argument for Noah to make. My voice is not an intrinsic trait because it can be changed. Therefore, it is okay to make fun of it. Well, I actually agree, and I've said that in multiple videos. Voices can be changed, so it's fair game. I don't know why he said I'm against it because I've been pretty clear that I'm not, and I said that in this video here that I know he watched. Though I wouldn't expect Noah to pay attention to details that are inconvenient to his argument, or to go back and fact check to make sure that I was the one who said that voice is an intrinsic trait. Or was it Ludwig who said it? Because it was Ludwig, not me.
I had a problem when I was young where I had a squeaker voice and I would talk and I would get roasted because of my squeaker voice. It's like an intrinsic quality about me and not because I am dog shit at the video game. I am cool with people being mean because I am bad or do something dumb. I am not cool with people being mean because I have a trait that I cannot change about myself.
Noah, you are so lazy when it comes to making sure that your points are correct. It took me 5 seconds to pull up the transcripts to check that. How many more times are you going to accuse me of things that other people said? The reason I brought this Ludwig clip up is because it reveals a point of hypocrisy for channels like yours, not because I think you shouldn't be allowed to make fun of the way someone speaks. Anyway, here's the best part of Noah's follow-up video.
So, to me, it seems like comments about his reading voice fall more under the category of a stylistic critique, criticism to improve the form of his videos. Kind of like when people say that they can't watch my videos because I look like I'm wearing a Joe Dirt Halloween costume and it's distracting. I could fix that for them. I could shave my mullet and my mustache. I'm not going to because I look great, but this is ultimately a critique of form, not of an immutable characteristic. Same goes with Sean's video voice, in my opinion.
You've got to be kidding me. Noah, why did you upload a video that makes you look so bad? You had a whole 1-hour video saying that it's not okay for me to make fun of the way that Alyssa styles herself, and then you say it's okay to make fun of the way that you dress because you can change it. But that was my point with Alyssa. She can wear different clothes. So what rule did I break? You just said my video on her was okay and did not violate YouTube rules. I mean, this has to be a bigger fumble than when you laughed at me for not wanting to do Dove's research for them, and called me lazy because it only took you 10 seconds to find the study that they were referencing, only to find out that you got the wrong study, or that time you cited a bunch of resources that you didn't read in order to dunk on me, only to find out that literally the first sentence of the stuff that you quoted contradicted your entire argument. Remember that happened, guys, because he still hasn't admitted to those brutal screw-ups to his audience. In fact, he actively tried to cover it up. Okay, so both Noah and I agree that I didn't break any rules in my video on Alyssa, but my video still has a strike on it. Now what? Well, now we do what actually works, which is make a big deal about it on Twitter until YouTube reviews it again. A lot of normies and people in Noah's audience don't know this, but YouTube customer service is actually on Twitter. Basically, you have to publicly shame YouTube into doing the right thing, and I guess too bad if you have a channel that's too small to do this. But I did the Twitter thing, and YouTube, yet again, rejected my appeal. So I made an even bigger deal about it, and finally, YouTube decided to do what was right and reinstate the video, followed by sending me this email that essentially says that mass flagging works. Again, fortunate for you, Noah, because if that video broke rules, then a lot of your videos are also in violation. I don't get this whole take. Some of the meanest people will cry victim in situations like this. Speaking of Hassan, all these people are friends, by the way. Hassan, Noah, and Alyssa. But speaking of Hassan, I actually forgot that he didn't just call me a pasty shit-skinned incel.
When I make fun of like pasty little shit-skinned incels.
But he also did what I imagine is against Twitch's TOS when he called my girlfriend ugly and then drew a picture of her making fun of her intrinsic traits that she cannot change.
She's just completely unattractive too on top of everything else. Yo, bro,
Right,
she's
in the
hot.
first
What do you
place.
mean?
And where she stood with it now.
She's fucking so gross. I
We're in
don't find her
Charlottesville.
attractive at all. I don't know why you guys, I mean, some of you do.
So, like I said,
Chad would
the
be like,
line of
damn, she's so
irony
hot.
Sometimes gets a little bit.
Bro, she'd be wearing glasses like this. She got glasses on, and it's got no fucking coverage, you know what I'm saying?
Not that Hassan can take what he dishes out. Here's him crying about people making fun of him on live stream fails and asking one of his connections to remove the post. What a horrendous hypocrite.
One actress named Maya Hawke, she says, yeah, I'm a Nepo baby and I accept it.
I have a specific example of someone that worked here that has said something very similar to her.
Oh, interesting. Okay, it can't be your nephew because he has no self-awareness.
Now, I understand that Noah's not saying this stuff, but you can choose your friends, and if you believe that me saying, those clothes don't look good on you, is so nasty that it's reasonable to have my channel mass flagged over it, then why would you be friends with someone who has done way worse and does it regularly, like Hassan? Why are you friends with that false accuser Ethan is online? He makes fun of traits that people can't change all the time. Clearly, on principle, Noah doesn't care about this stuff. By the way, I know that Noah never blatantly said that I should get a strike for my first video on Alyssa, but he obviously thinks it. He's just too much of a coward to say it. If he didn't think I should be struck for a behavior that he and his friends do all the time, then he would have openly said that mass flagging was wrong, instead of spending 10 minutes justifying it. Speaking of relationships, if Noah viewers are watching, then they must be shocked because for the past year, he's been trying to paint me as an incel in front of his audience. And I mean, considering some of the material that he used in the Illymation video, he seems to have really gone out of his way to not mention that Brittany and I were dating, even though it was public knowledge. All of the context clues for us being in a relationship were in videos that he watched, and Brittany had multiple posts up on her Instagram about us dating. Now, in the Dove video that Noah reacted to last year, I mentioned that Brittany and I went to New York for a friend's wedding and went to a modern art museum. I mentioned that so I could talk about why I was talking about modern art in that video. Noah references this part, and this is how he describes my girlfriend.
He later talks about how he went to an art museum with another anti-feminist YouTuber and that he didn't like the art.
Did you catch the wording there? He is so intent on hiding my relationship from his audience that he didn't mention that I was at that art museum with a woman. He describes her as another anti-feminist YouTuber without saying her sex. But okay, you know she's a YouTuber and you've made a statement on her beliefs, which means you must have done some research on who that was and why we were on vacation together, right? Especially considering all the context clues from that video that would instantly lead people to assume that we're dating. You are a good researcher, right? You do have an Instagram account, right? Noah, you spent a whole hour saying how you think it's wrong to misrepresent people. So then why is it that you chose to describe her as an anti-feminist YouTuber and not as my significant other? Because it seems to me like you're trying to misrepresent an opponent by not mentioning this so that your audience will assume that I'm a part of a group that they already have negative preconceived ideas about, which will cause them to view me less favorably. The only reason that I never clarified our relationship status in my response videos to Noah, despite showing Hassan calling me an incel who doesn't use soap during those videos, is because I was curious to see how far Noah would go to lead his audience to the conclusion that I am an incel. Like, I'm not being hyperbolic about this at all. Noah will go as far as to make a 1-hour video doing a deep dive into my history, and not only show videos of Brittany and I having a conversation, but he also intros his Illymation video with B-roll from a live stream where the main topic was that we were dating. Yet he still will not mention that we were in a relationship because he attracts a ton of the anti-black pill audience, and he's friends with Hassan Piker, who constantly calls me an incel, so he wants his audience to think that's true. And they do think it's true because they frequently use that word to refer to me. He's essentially lying by omission here. And let me further emphasize how there is no way that he didn't know that we were in a relationship the whole time. Even Destiny, who doesn't know who I am, knows that I've been in a relationship.
Do you know who Think Before You Sleep is?
No.
Okay.
I think that's just Seanhead's boyfriend or fiance or whatever, right?
No, Brittany Venti.
I mean, we were publicly engaged for months before Noah released this 1-hour video, and he's still trying to make his audience think that I can't get into a relationship. Oh wait, our engagement was announced on Twitter. That's right, Noah doesn't have a Twitter. Why doesn't he have one? Let's do some Googling. Remember that drama that he had with Vaush? Well, around that time, he liked to tweet of someone saying that Vaush's life should be ended. I mentioned that earlier, but this is the guy who said I'm a radical who tries to inspire people to hurt creators through shady fabrications simply because I criticized another YouTuber? He liked to call to action for people to hurt his ideological opponent. But that's still not why Noah got banned on Twitter. This is what got him banned. It's a message referencing Chud Logic saying, pedo freak streamers like this one should be rounded up and melted in a large cast iron cauldron. Here's Hassan liking the tweet because everybody knows that he likes death threats against his opponents too. And if you think this is the only example, then here he is approving of a death threat against Destiny.
Apparently, Sean the Black is now the newest victim of the group of individuals that is very upset at anti-white racism.
This is what happens when you don't kill every single slave owner after slavery. They have children, and their children have children's, and their children have children's, and then their children have accidents that should have ended up on a sock, and it becomes Destiny.
Everyone got very mad at him and said that he's actually saying someone needs to kill Destiny for saying the N-word, which is very cool.
This guy is a viewer of yours, Noah. I hope that the misinformation that you've spread doesn't cause him to do something rash, because this comment against Chud Logic is one hell of an accusation. Why was he accused of that? Well, some messages got leaked of Chud Logic asking what age a girl was, and saying that he wanted to make sure that she was an adult if he was going to flirt with her. She responded by saying that she was of age, and Chud goes on to insist that it would be weird to talk to her if she wasn't at least in her 20s. I don't know if there's any more context to this. Certainly Noah didn't provide any, and I have to say that this is probably the least creepy Discord leak I've ever seen.
The kind of content that this person produces probably shouldn't be trusted. Anytime this guy makes a hit piece, it's probably so poorly researched that trusting anything he says is unreliable.
This was such a bad take that even Chud Logic's bitter enemies said that he wasn't a creep.
I don't even like Chud. I think he's an asshole, but he's not a pedophile.
Chud Logic and all, he is not a pedophile, though. I am very familiar with the drama that happened where people tried to slander him as a pedo. I even spoke to him in private about that drama when it was going down and got like all the screenshots and info and everything. He's not a pedo.
Noah, why are you forcing me to side with Keffels? Though given the context, I think that Keffels' words technically count as expert opinion. So I guess you could say that Noah has plausible deniability on not knowing that Brittany and I were engaged, because he was banned from Twitter for libel and a call to action for violence. And not only that, but he made this call to action to defend the false accusers of Super Mega. Actually, it appears that I was wrong about his Twitter ban. This is Future Sean speaking, by the way, who's doing the editing. I initially thought that the Chud Logic tweet was what got him banned because that's what it said on a Reddit post. Well, it turns out that is not in fact why he was banned. According to an Instagram post that Noah made that I found because I do thorough research and fact-check things multiple times, Noah was banned for making threats against Elon Musk. I believe this was the actual tweet that got him banned. Jeez, how many threats has this guy made? Even with the LOL in Minecraft caveat, that tweet still looks bad, especially considering Noah's prior behavior. So this is the guy accusing me of all those bad things? Now, a little announcement because it has to be said at some point. There's a reason that I said Brittany and I were dating and were engaged. Unfortunately, we broke up. After over a year and a half of trying to make the relationship work, we both decided that we are simply not compatible with each other in the context of a relationship. We're still friends though, and we ended the relationship on good terms. That's all I'm going to say. I wish her the best. Let's get back to the deplatforming attempt because when I said deplatforming, I meant it, and there's one thing I haven't talked about yet. As I said earlier, if the first video on Alyssa goes down and I get a strike, then the other two videos I made talking about the drama could easily be mass flagged too. 3 videos, 3 strikes, channel gone. And don't say that wouldn't happen because I've dealt with mass flaggers before, and they don't just report one video, they report everything. Now you might say, well, you have no actual evidence that multiple videos were flagged. Actually, I do. Thanks to Noah being the least intelligent criminal on the planet, he gave me evidence that Alyssa was flagging multiple videos. He does that in this part here.
What I have is this screenshot from YouTube support telling Illy that it's okay for her to submit the report, even if she's not 100% positive that it applies. That's an important note here, I guess, is that YouTube literally gave her the green light to do this. I probably could have mentioned that sooner, but there we go. Surprise.
Again, let's just take a second to look at what kind of person this is. Noah spends a bunch of time saying mass flagging doesn't do anything, it's not against the rules, and look, YouTube said it was okay. This is clearly endorsing mass flagging. And let's take a look at this message because I'm genuinely starting to think that Noah is illiterate. The message says, will I get in trouble if I submit a privacy report and the team doesn't think it's a problem? For some reason, I guess Noah thinks that we can't read and describes this as Alyssa getting told by YouTube that it's okay to mass flag my channel for community guidelines. That's not what this says. This message is about privacy complaints, not community guidelines. That is a different process. I think what happened is that the mass flagging campaign didn't work, so Alyssa decided to get more devious and use the privacy system to get my video taken down. I will add the nuance that a big danger of YouTube's flagging system is that you don't know who's reviewing your video. It may be AI or it may be someone with a strong political bend. Whether you get struck or not depends on who reviews your content. So I imagine that when Alyssa flagged me, I got a more favorable reviewer, but when Noah's fans flagged me, I got a bot or a less favorable reviewer. Anyway, what would cause Alyssa to think it's okay to commit what is basically fraud to get my videos taken down? And I say fraud because privacy claims go through YouTube's legal system. Alyssa, you're a public figure. Everything I used in that video was stuff from public interviews that you consented to, your own channel, and your Instagram page. None of the information that I used was private. So now we have Alyssa filing false privacy claims, to which at least one of went through. Here's the evidence of that. Fortunately, I beat the claim and the video stayed up. This particular claim was on the video that I did on Alyssa's friend, Dylan, who, by the way, is also a public figure, worked on a Let's Play channel with over 100,000 subs for years, and had a Twitch channel where he shows his face, as well as his Twitter page. She's lucky the video didn't get taken down because YouTube has a really bad habit of not telling you who your accuser is, and until Noah ratted on her, I had no idea that Alyssa was the one privacy claiming my videos. So thanks, Noah, for providing evidence of that. And Alyssa, if my videos get taken down for false privacy claims, you are aware that I can sue you, right? Maybe think about that next time before you tell the YouTube legal team that publicly available photos that you posted on your Instagram or Twitter account are leaked private info. So with all that in context, how do you not call this a deplatforming attempt? She not only used the flagging system to attack me, but lied to YouTube about me sharing private information to get my videos taken down. Why Noah provided evidence of her doing that, I have no idea. Though Noah clearly seems to believe I've crossed some sort of privacy line and passive-aggressively shows pictures and videos of me as a way of saying, I know what you look like and now so does everybody else. The funny part is that it looks like he thinks this is some kind of own, but I don't care if people know what I look like. If I cared, I wouldn't have gone on camera. But really, the only result of him showing my face is a bunch of people saying that I'm attractive.
What does he look like? Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. I'm gonna bully the fuck out of him right now. What does he look like? This is him. Yeah, he's kind of cute. Now I can't bully him.
Nice own, Noah. And Brittany Simon wasn't the only one who said that. Okay, holy crap, we've been here for a while. That's okay, though, because Noah gave me like an hour and 20 minutes of content to cover. But we haven't even gotten to the big, out-of-context allegations that everyone's raving about. Let's get to those, starting with the one that people care about the most. I'll let Noah explain it first.
He presents what he calls Illy's final piece of advice and uses that as evidence to argue that she is promoting obesity.
All right, let's see Alyssa's final piece of advice.
A carrot isn't an inherent good food, while chocolate is an inherent bad food. Food is just food. No matter how many calories, carbs, sugars, you should feel free to eat whatever food you want to without beating yourself up about it.
I'm done. That was such terrible advice. I don't know how this video could be considered as anything other than enabling food addicts to not fix their health.
So Illy's quotes here, that food is just food and you should eat whatever you want, were the most important pieces of evidence to Sean's conclusion.
Okay, that's kind of the background of what was in my original video, but Noah suggests that important context has been left out to purposefully make Alyssa look bad. Let's hear his argument.
So I went back to Illy's actual video and see if you can spot what he decided to cut from this sequence.
No matter how many calories, carbs, sugars, whatever is in it. Unless you have life-threatening allergies or dietary restrictions to follow, you should feel free to eat whatever food you want to without beating yourself up about it.
So immediately before she says that fated line, eat whatever you want, she added a caveat. She said, unless you have life-threatening allergies or dietary restrictions to follow.
That's it? That's what everyone is freaking out about? This is the most nothing burger out of context accusation that I've ever seen.
Not everyone is like specifically catering their brand to be this certain way to like be as dishonest as you are. Like you can tell when somebody frames something innocuous in the worst intentions, you should immediately question their intentions and like how they go about things, you know? Because it's a peer into their mind, it's pure projection.
So the moment that I cut out from Alyssa's video is something that I call an I'm not saying clause. Just as an example, Tiffany Ferguson does this a lot in her videos.
And I'm not saying this applies to any of the specific families that I'm talking about in this video. And I'm not pulling the whole, oh, be grateful because some people have it worse. And I'm not just saying that because this is also my job. To be clear, I'm not making fun of any of these setups. I'm not deluding myself to believe that a 9-to-5 would be easy.
It's annoying because almost everybody knows that obviously they are not saying what they have to say, I'm not saying for. Unfortunately, as a content creator, you have to do these clauses or bad faith people who react to you will go, see, he's saying that Alyssa is telling people with allergies to eat food that will hospitalize them. But here's an important piece of nuance. I didn't do that. And I also didn't accuse her of telling people with diabetes to overeat sugar either.
While this line is being delivered, you can also see on the screen that the boy who has diabetes is taking a reading of his blood sugar and then gets the green light, so he's good to go for having a s'more with his friends without throwing his blood sugar out of whack. This line, as well as the depiction on screen, is an acknowledgement that there are some exceptions to her statement, which would include, for example, a diabetic person's blood sugar imbalances.
I have diabetes type 3. Time to eat 4 trillion Oreos.
It's really funny that last one, given that Illy specifically accounted for diabetic people, but Sean just didn't show it, so then there was a bunch of comments about diabetes, really good.
That's not true. Alyssa did not specifically account for diabetes in the statement that I cut, and I showed the blood sugar animation, so what? You have all the information that diabetics should check their blood sugar before they consume s'mores from the animation that was not cut, so I didn't even cut one of the things that you're accusing me of cutting. Now, I imagine that these comments from Noah were inspired by a lot of commentary YouTubers saying that she was enabling diabetics, but I didn't say that, and if some commentary channel doesn't watch the original video and ends up saying something stupid, that's not my fault. They're adults. I link all my reference material in the description or show it on screen, and for the most part, this is their career, so it's their job to do proper research. I'm not responsible if they mess that up.
That didn't change it too much. I don't think he didn't mention anybody that has like diabetes or allergies, so I don't think he really cut much out of that.
So like this line does not meaningfully change it. So Think Before You Sleep did not take her out of context in a meaningful way.
You shouldn't have cut the line. I don't know why you did that, but you're right. Yeah, it doesn't really change
it. More entertaining. I feel like that line is not that important to cut or leave in. I feel like it doesn't drastically change what she said. Like she's not even, when you say dietary restriction as well, you're not talking about like oh, I'm on a diet. What you're talking about there is like I can't eat peanuts, therefore I will not eat peanuts, right? That's the caveat. Or like I have diabetes, therefore I cannot eat a bunch of sugar, right? That's basically what that is. This cut doesn't egregiously change what she said. Like it's basically a meaningless statement that didn't really even need to be there. Like it cut nothing.
There's more to Noah's reaction, but first, let me explain why I cut that 3 seconds out. There's a few reasons. I understand that my videos are long, but even with longer content, the goal is still to make the video as short as possible. That way a 30-minute video doesn't turn into an hour because of filler content that isn't interesting. So every good creator will try to cut out as much as they can to keep the video entertaining, especially when it comes to information that is irrelevant to your point. Second, like a song, videos have rhythm and timing to them. A lot of times I'll cut stuff out because leaving it in the video screws that up. This is especially true with the I'm not saying clauses, and that's the number one reason why I don't like having to do them. It's because they cause everyone to have to over-explain things, which screws up the pacing of the video and makes it less entertaining. And it's not just me saying it. Turkey Tom also makes scripted videos, and he says it too.
To be fair, it wasn't that important to cut. Why cut it then? I mean, just watch time retention, I guess. Make the video a little snappier. I don't know. It's just like a statement that changes nothing, and like I don't know. In the clip of him talking about it, he wasn't talking about like she thinks that you should eat peanuts if you have a peanut allergy.
And Noah, Mr. Media Literacy Expert, I know you're aware of this narrative technique because you went to school for it. Though maybe not, because a lot of the people who write college reading material are terrible at pacing, which is why nobody reads the textbooks. When I was in college, filler text used to frustrate me to no end, so that's a basic reason why I cut things. However, in Alyssa's case, things are a little bit different, and for her video, this is actually the main reason why I tried to use as little of her content as possible and cut all unnecessary information. Alyssa has 2.5 million subscribers and runs an animation channel which is expensive to produce, so she most certainly has contracted with an organization to claim content thieves who re-upload entire videos. Now, most YouTubers don't work with these organizations, so it's not something that you typically have to worry about. But the problem with the copyright organizations is that they will often claim every video that uses their content, even if it's fair use. This is something that channels like, let's say, Noah would not have to worry about with me because he knows I'm not going to claim his video if he plays a 2-minute uncut clip of me talking. The copyright system on YouTube is a huge mess to navigate. So specifically with Alyssa or any channel that has big production value like Cut or Jubilee, you have to worry about getting copyright claimed if you use too much of their content. And what do you know, one day after I released the first video on Alyssa, I got copyright claimed by her channel organization. I didn't say anything about this because I beat the claim, and I wanted to give Alyssa the benefit of the doubt by assuming it was just an auto-claim by her organization instead of her personally telling them to claim it, because auto-claims are typically what happens. Though now that I know more, I'm a little suspicious that the video was claimed a day after the upload and not at the time of the upload, which is what Content ID typically does. And considering that adjusting for time zones, this copyright claim occurred around 12 hours after she was telling people to report my video, I now have trouble believing that this claim wasn't malicious instead of a routine Content ID claim. Also considering that Alyssa was telling people on Tumblr that I shouldn't be allowed to make money on my hard work while I was going through the appeals process for a monetary copyright claim. So it's a little suspicious. But how many attacks has Alyssa levied against my channel simply because she can't mute comments for a couple days? She copyright claimed me, she privacy claimed me, and she called on her followers to mass flag me. I mean, are there any other tactics that she wants to exhaust to hurt my channel because she can't take a little criticism? With that said, let's hear why Noah thinks the 3 seconds that I cut was important.
And this is important, right? Because this line directly refutes Sean's narrative that Illy is promoting obesity. So immediately before she says that fated line, eat whatever you want, she added a caveat. She said, unless you have life-threatening allergies or dietary restrictions to follow. This line, as well as the depiction on screen, is an acknowledgement that there are some exceptions to her statement, which would include, for example, a diabetic person's blood sugar imbalances, or most importantly for Sean's conclusion, the dietary restrictions recommended to morbidly obese people.
So here's the part where Noah again accuses me of saying things that other people said, and not things I actually said, followed by him making a completely ridiculous argument about obesity. And I say this argument from Noah is ridiculous because Alyssa spends the whole video suggesting that being fat is not unhealthy, and she says this.
Here I am, at the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life, categorically overweight and well within middle school mocking range, but also the healthiest I've ever been, according to multiple doctors.
She also calls a 300-pound woman who has no training in fitness or medical sciences a health expert and suggests to her fans that they take her advice. But if that's not enough, then Noah, surely you watched my video on the mass flagging, right? Well, if you watched it, then you couldn't have missed the entire 10-minute segment where I go over a very long-winded New Year's Eve post from Alyssa where she basically is telling a follower of hers that obesity doesn't cause health problems and doesn't lead to things like osteoarthritis, despite showing an article that says it does. And if this is still not enough, then you can watch her video about 10 seconds from the point that you clipped where she says being fat does not make you less healthy.
Being fat doesn't automatically mean someone is less healthy.
If they are 300 pounds like Aubrey Gordon, then it does. I had no idea that someone could be this bad at his job. Not only that, but you yourself, Noah, have argued that morbid obesity is not unhealthy, and I put that moment in my videos on Alyssa. Here it is again, a moment where Noah says that a woman who is at least 250 pounds from the Dove Real Virtual Beauty ad is not unhealthy. In fact, Noah has said that being morbidly obese is not unhealthy multiple times.
There's nothing in any of these videos that contradicts the notion of living healthy. You're ascribing that to them because of their fatness.
So with all that in context, why in the hell would I assume that Alyssa was considering obese people to be in need of dietary restrictions for health reasons? She spends the whole video telling people to not make dietary restrictions because of their weight. That was a major theme of her video. I genuinely do not know why Noah would make this argument. His content must almost entirely bank on the fact that nobody watches the source material and calls him out for making terrible arguments. He must also bank on his audience not calling him out for ignoring critics when they point this stuff out. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, stuff like this is why I said that I can't believe that Noah hit the upload button on this video. It makes him look so bad in front of people who are paying attention. Let's continue with Noah's second argument on this moment.
This response here from both audiences and creators relies on Sean's framing of Illy's words, that they were intended as dieting advice. But the thing is, they weren't. Her video is a direct critique of diet culture and its morality-based food logic. Immediately before the good and bad foods clip, Illy introduces a concept called body neutrality, which advocates for removing the moral element from how we view our bodies. She then states that she is about to apply that concept to food. So given the actual content of her video and the direct link she'd just drawn from moral neutrality to food, when she finally actually says these lines, her intent could not be more clear. She's talking about morality. She's saying that eating carrots doesn't make you a good person, just like eating chocolate doesn't make you a bad person. By presenting only the tail end of this sequence and neglecting to accurately portray the central themes of her entire video, Sean has removed it from all context. The result is that he's framed her as both an idiot that can't do basic math about calories, and more seriously, a dangerous person whose dieting advice will end up with people dead.
Okay, so now Mr. I had no idea that this title would cause viewers to think that you dox somebody gets super analytical and can see all of the under-the-surface meanings of Alyssa's arguments. You see, in this moment, she talks about apples, and now she's talking about chocolate, and it's all the moral weight of the food. For one, those arguments are so far apart in the video that nobody who doesn't have the same food experience as Alyssa is going to see it like that. This could have easily been cleared up if Alyssa just said that there is no difference between a carrot and a chocolate bar morally. But okay, let's play along and say that she was talking about the moral weight of each item. It's still a dumb statement, and I actually addressed that argument twice in the follow-up videos and showed research for why it's dumb in relation to things that Alyssa says she cares about. A ton of plastic waste comes from the processed food industry, and people who binge eat all the time are creating a lot of unnecessary waste that is harming the planet. Eating yourself into obesity does have a moral weight. Every addiction does, and I can't stand it when people say ridiculous stuff like, it doesn't matter if I'm drunk all day, I'm just doing it to myself. It doesn't affect anyone else. Yes, it does. Addicts almost always render themselves incapable of taking care of themselves and can only continue the addiction because they are emotionally manipulating people into helping them. If you're drunk all the time, how do you get around? Are you driving while you're intoxicated? Are you going to work intoxicated and causing people to have to pick up after you? Also, we live in a society, and thanks to Noah turning over a new leaf and admitting that obesity is unhealthy, we can now talk about health insurance. America is like this hybrid system that is half socialist, half not, which basically just screws everyone over in terms of cost. So when it comes to having a lot of obese people, and because obese people have many expensive preventable health problems, everyone's insurance premiums go up to cover the cost, and our taxes go up to pay for this as well. Second, a big problem with heavy patients in hospitals is that they are too big for standard beds, so they have to use something like a KCI bed, which costs like 10 times the price of a normal hospital bed. And these days, I think those beds are actually now too small. Third, 600+ pound patients are way more difficult to move, and like I said in the mass flagging video, my mom is a nurse, and I can't tell you how many times she's been injured from moving a morbidly obese patient. She actually has a permanent rotator cuff injury because of it. These are just a couple of reasons, but yes, there is a moral difference between someone who takes care of their health and someone who doesn't. Okay, so we have one more out-of-context argument that Noah makes, and this is probably the most nonsensical one.
Or how the photo he used to insult her fashion sense by saying she dresses like a homeless person was taken while she was hiking, and Sean knew that, but cropped out the identifying information so that his audience wouldn't.
First off, it's not homeless, it's unhoused person.
Unhoused person.
Second, why does this context matter? She can wear better hiking clothes. It's cold where she is, which gives her a chance to layer different textures and colors as well as accessorize. It's much easier to have good fashion when it's cold. Third, walking doesn't really require an extensive range of motion, so she's not that limited on clothing options. I really just don't see how noting that she was hiking changes anything, particularly when the reason that this all caught my attention is because Alyssa says in her videos, why don't I look like a supermodel or a female actress? And the answer to that is because she doesn't put nearly as much effort into her stylistic choices as they do, thus the commentary on the hiking photo. I also don't see why the cropped photo is the one that's suddenly important, because most of my commentary about her bad fashion sense was related to that dress that she wore for the streamies. So I can't figure out why this particular photo was focused on, other than the fact that some minor unimportant context was cut, which allows Noah to blow it way out of proportion and score points with his audience.
I don't think that like Sean sat here and it's like, I know that she doesn't have like a bit, I don't think she was like, oh, I know what she's saying, but I'm going to take her out of context. I don't think that that's what happened there. I think that and I just want to be very clear. I don't think that he made his video to be malicious or anything, as Noah's video kind of claims.
Also, most people in my audience are either playing a video game or driving or watching my video in the background, so even if I didn't crop the photo, almost nobody would have seen the location information. And even if they were directly looking at the whole Instagram post and fully paying attention, most people are going to be psychologically drawn to looking at the photo and not the tiny piece of information that says where she was. You're talking about maybe less than 1% of the audience who would have noticed it. Second, this location data, Big Bear Lake, nobody knows where that is. 90% of my audience doesn't live in California, so they aren't going to recognize that Big Bear Mountain has a lot of hiking trails, and certainly, nobody's going to sit there and Google the location. She could have just as easily been fishing based on that location data. As you said, a person would be far more likely to perceive that she is hiking from the picture than they would from her location data.
The less perceptive ones anyway, given that she's, sitting on a log in dirt.
Noah, this hiking situation is a massive stretch. So you have moments like this, and then you do things like stupidly center your video around a roundabout way of accusing me of harassment and threats that would also make you guilty of harassment and threats. Going back to that situation with Vaush, I really think you've learned nothing from the experience, because I went back and watched that whole debacle, and you're making the exact same mistakes that you made 2 years ago.
But knowing that, and including that to provide a full context for the argument, would require research, which I know Noah Samsen doesn't do, because he accused me of searching for an indigenous activist to bring on to own Professor Flowers after the conversation with her, when in the conversation with the indigenous activist, it was twice brought up that she emailed me. This is from that
usually
video.
when I and then using indigenous talking points to try and justify, your own ends. I really had a problem with that. That was the point where I was like yelling at the TV while I was watching it, and I went and grabbed my laptop and emailed you. I was like, no, this needs to get sorted out. This can't happen.
Clear as day. Noah Samsen never actually watched the conversation.
I mean, these should be embarrassing screw-ups that you're jumping to avoid, yet you've made them every single time you've reacted to a video of mine.
Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Do you understand the differences between how this is and how Sean's video was? Because it's like night and day. In fact, I would say that Noah Samsen's video actually has more in common with what I do than with what Sean does, because Noah Samsen delivers arguments with the level of coherence and precision that I would expect from somebody live reacting to content, not from a person capable of editing and script writing. Whereas Sean's videos, for the most part, are airtight, incredibly comprehensive.
I hate to say this, but I agree with Vaush. You have all the benefit of pre-watching, background research, outlining, scripting, editing, and proof-watching the final cut, yet you are so bad at research and forming your points that someone who is live reacting to content they haven't seen before can do a better job at making a more charitable and succinct argument. That should be embarrassing. Anyway, why did I crop that photo? Honestly, I don't remember. It was either so the picture would appear bigger on screen, or most likely, it's because I didn't want to have to take the time to censor everyone's Instagram @ in the comments. Cropping the photo is much easier. Now you might notice that this other photo here from that video was also taken from her Instagram, and look, the comments are cropped out. That must have been malicious. How dare Sean not give the context that this photo was uploaded on a Thursday? That changes everything. Really? In this next section, Noah really tries to do what I can't describe as anything other than lie to his audience about how YouTube works. A part of the premise of his video is that mean comments from viewers is something that only my audience does. Only the most radical YouTubers have audiences like this. No, it's not something that happens with every YouTube audience, including Noah's. Only audiences that Noah doesn't like do this. To further establish this, he interviews 2 other creators that I've done videos on, Nicole Raffi and Tiffany Ferguson.
I spoke with some other YouTubers that Sean has made these sorts of unsolicited response videos about, and to this question of why not hear him out and respond, they all said basically the same thing, which was, why the hell would I do that?
I didn't say anybody had to respond to my videos. In fact, outside of this one, the only suggestion that I made to Alyssa was to ignore the video. That's generally my recommendation unless you think your audience would be interested in a response. Otherwise, it's not worth the effort, especially if you script videos like Alyssa. Scripted responses are a lot of work.
This is Nicole Raffi. Sean made a video about her called Feminism is Brainwashing Women to Like Feminine Men. Oh man, this is so fun. When I asked about that video, this was her first message. Hey, oh my god, that guy stinks. That can go on the record that I said that.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He's made 2 videos about me now, I think, and each time it just brings an influx of sexist and radically far-right men to start picking apart not even the content that I make, but my looks, my voice, basically everything that does not matter. They also tend to not watch my videos and base their opinions off the title itself.
Gee, Noah, I sure hope you've never been caught like a bunch of times basing your opinion on a video from only reading the title, because that would really make you look like a hypocrite.
So, very ill-informed community, I gotta say. It's been a hot minute since I watched the video he made about me, but I just remember thinking that he's jumping through hoops looking for a reason to be upset with what I'm saying. What he and his community do is essentially the equivalent of a Reddit snark page, and then the creator has to face an increase in video dislikes, hate comments, threatening DMs, until Sean makes a video on the next person.
So I went back and watched that video, and I have to say I was ridiculously fair in it compared to anything that I've seen Noah release. I'm not kidding. Go and watch that video. I steelman her arguments, I bring up stupid arguments from her opponents, I compliment her for good points, and I compliment her as a person. By comparison, I honestly don't think I've ever seen Noah compliment an opponent or point out something that they've done right, and if he has done it, it's certainly rare, and he certainly hasn't said anything good about me, despite the fact that I've said good things about him in every video response I've made. It's really ironic that Noah, someone who is never charitable to his opponents, would accuse other people of villainizing. So if Noah is agreeing that this video was egregiously unfair to Nicole, then he either didn't watch it, which, by the way, is common practice for him to not fact-check, or he basically is saying that all criticism is misogyny or whatever. I'm also going to press X to doubt on Nicole receiving threatening DMs. That is a big accusation, and Noah has shown no proof of this. Outside of that, is Nicole describing Noah here? Because that's exactly what people in his audience do. We know that Noah likes to spend time in people's comment sections. This is a common format tactic for him, by the way. But since Noah is so good at investigative work, I'm sure he knows how to sort comments by newest first, so he must have seen a bunch of his followers brigading my chat and insulting me after they watched his video. He's trying to act like this is something unique to my channel, with Nicole's overly dramatic "until he moves on to the next victim" line. Guys, it's every channel. Everyone's following does this. What are we supposed to do? Not criticize things or make commentary videos? I don't like comment brigading. I'm sure the vast majority of creators don't want their audience doing it either. I've stated multiple times in videos that people shouldn't do it, and I've shamed people for doing it. I've even given people such as Alyssa my full-on public approval to delete comments, ban words, mute people, and pause their comment section, despite it being an action that is traditionally made fun of. But like I said, no amount of YouTubers expressing their dislike for brigading will stop people from doing it. Though you know what would put a huge dent in it? YouTube spending 5 seconds coding a subscriber-only mode for comment sections.
Another creator, Tiffany Ferguson, whose video, Mr. Beast's Philanthropy Will Not Save the World, was responded to by Sean with his piece complaining about capitalism while being a capitalist. Got her ass. Ooh. Yep, Hassan House. Bad. Tiffany also clocked Sean's criticism as being just a trap.
If I did actually get any backlash from his audience, I literally did not see it or hear it. So I guess that's a good thing. That obviously seems like if you respond and try to, react in any way, that seems to backfire for a lot of these creators, as he's talking about, because it encourages him to continue.
I think anyone expecting otherwise just doesn't know what it's like to be a content creator and have this happen to you, especially when the creators in question do not make response videos.
Yeah, Noah, it's not that big of a deal. Just don't read your comment section for 2 or 3 days, maybe mute things, and everything will be fine. However, I love that last part where Tiffany said, yeah, I didn't really receive any hate comments from his viewers. Nice way to prove your point, Noah. Though I imagine that Tiffany gets less criticism in general, because unlike a lot of people, she actually does research for her videos. I also love the argument of, Sean made these videos about these innocent YouTubers unprovoked. Did you watch the video that I made on Tiffany Ferguson? She made a video attacking Mr. Beast unprovoked. He didn't deserve that. Mr. Beast is just an innocent family channel who wants no part in politics, and he doesn't do response videos. By the way, Nicole Raffi does these kinds of videos too. Here's one about Drake, who has done some really suspicious stuff, but did she ask Drake if she could make that video about him? Did Drake provoke her by making a rap song about her? So do we really want to play this game where you're only allowed to make videos on other public figures if they give you consent? Do you think Illuminati or James Somerton would have consented to the videos made on them? Hell, Noah, you struck first and made a video on me unprovoked. How is that fair? I didn't ask you to react to my channel. I'm a victim. I'm just kidding. This line of argumentation is stupid, and if you can't handle people reacting to your content, then you shouldn't make YouTube videos. Okay, we're making progress. We're like halfway through Noah's video. Fortunately, about 25 minutes of the second half is mindless filler content that is completely irrelevant to the main topic, and it seems like this section of the video was merely there to paint me as a transphobe, paint me as a racist.
God help you if you're a white guy who says anything that Noah Samsen doesn't like, or you're about to be painted as a racist in the next 80-minute long video.
And get jealous over how well my videos perform.
Title, thumbnail, upload, and 730. Jesus fucking Christ.
What I think Noah was trying to do here was display that he learned very slightly from his past mistakes of making a scripted video on somebody without actually watching their content. I guess that's good. I guess that's progress. We now have a Noah Samsen who believes that resources should be cited.
Now, let me be clear on this point. Let me be clear. Sources should be fully cited.
And we have a Noah Samsen who actually watches content before he says he knows what's in it. So good. Maybe after like 20 of these Noah reactions, we'll finally turn him into a good journalist. However, what appears to have happened is that Noah got information overload from watching too many videos, had a lot of things he wanted to react to, and he could not pick and choose which ones were relevant to the story, so he ended up just vomiting them everywhere in the second half of the video as he tries to make a 25-minute tangent relevant to his main argument. That being said, I'm mostly going to skip over this part, though just to note how much Noah removes context and basically addresses zero difficult points, I want to show two clips from this section. Here's the first.
Later, he heavily implies that the drag community is full of pedophiles due to the material they promote.
Well, considering the material, the people who have that take probably need to spend some time behind bars.
The material in question here, the stuff he shows right before that statement, is clips of the kid just kind of flipping around on stage, goofing around. It sounds like he's seeing something in these clips that I'm just not seeing.
Now, dismissing the complete irony of Noah being on the side of the LGBT issue that constantly says that kids are going to die if you don't affirm their gender.
This is a real thing that is happening on the 3rd of June. What this dictates is that now it's officially going to be completely illegal for under 18s to have access to gender-affirming care. So anyway, a bunch of kids are going to die.
Where's the evidence of that? It's shocking that I've heard this line for like 10 years, yet it's pretty much never accompanied by actual research. Oh wait, my bad. That was someone else saying it. Well, I wouldn't want to be like Noah, so here's him saying the thing that I accused him of believing.
The most frustrating part about this whole thing is that all of the evidence shows that actually listening to your kids if they experience gender dysphoria at a young age significantly reduces the likelihood of mental health issues and suicide. Family rejection nearly doubles the likelihood that a transgender youth will attempt suicide. Gender-affirming care works. That's why it's recommended by nearly all psychological and medical associations. So when people like these freaks want to make money by lying and scaring people, the results of which include state laws that literally ban trans healthcare for kids, this is a very, very, very bad thing. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that it kills people.
I'm surprised he actually showed data, but just to clarify, this is not research. These are random numbers on a website with no context for how they got them, and the names of a bunch of organizations that agree. That's not evidence. Now, Noah is illiterate, and this video was made before he got embarrassed last year, so I know he didn't read it, but the actual study isn't any better. One, it was an online self-reported survey, so how did they verify the people were who they said they were? Two, no kids were in the study, so you can't make any claims on kids based on this data. And three, active drug users, people who were engaged in sex work, and recently homeless people were actually more likely to make attempts on their own lives than people who are not affirmed. So was it the drugs, or was it the wrong pronouns at Thanksgiving? We don't know because as far as I can see, questions that would give you that kind of information were not asked. Sorry, what a tangent after I complained about tangents. So let's dismiss the irony of Noah being on this side of the argument, despite that he said that it was wrong for me to bring up the fact that certain behavior can cause harm to children. But as I said in the Ethan is Online video, people like Noah always play this stupid game of, why is it bad? It's just a kid in a dress. When that's obviously not what I was talking about. When I made that claim, I was talking about images like this one that clearly display children in an inappropriate environment, and I showed this picture before the part that Noah clipped. These people also like to ignore the extremely criminal behavior from people like Keffels or Eli Ehrlich. That's the stuff I'm talking about, and I've yet to see any of these people, such as Noah, address it. Alright, the second moment where Noah removes a ton of context so he can strawman me is this one here.
When a contestant in a cut game show is asked why he's unemployed, he responds by saying that the jobs he's applied for have said he's unqualified because he's black. This is how Sean responds to that statement.
What? That is literally illegal, and it's been illegal for over half a century. If what Chris said was actually true, then lawyers would be jumping to help him sue those companies on contingency, and he'd be a millionaire right now.
The old standby. Racism is illegal. Checkmate, racism. When Sean hears this statement, he reverts to the assumption that the hiring discrimination which took place must have happened at the individual level, as in this person must have been directly discriminated against. Now, we don't know the exact details of this cut contestant's situation. However, Sean's assumption that it couldn't have happened because this kind of racism is illegal is very telling. Regardless, his instinctual jump to assume that this person is lying is a product of, among other things, a lack of any sort of systemic framework for understanding racism.
I'm not going to rehash all this. You can just go watch the video for all the evidence. But I don't know how Noah could watch this and ignore all the parts that show that this guy Chris is an extreme racist who uses every excuse to justify not working. And by extreme racist, I mean that his husband's social media @ was slang for white people hate, and Chris also has a social media @ using the same racial slur for white people. Honestly, I'm surprised that divorce court aired racist usernames. There was also a video that I believe has been deleted on his YouTube channel about how he and his husband like to start drama with white people because they don't like them, and him and his husband are famous on Know Your Meme for basically Jussie Smollett type race grifting for clout. Except for that last part, all this stuff was there in the video and the pinned comment. So Noah ignores the mountain of evidence that this guy's account of the events is not trustworthy and follows that up with a study that basically called half of America far right. I don't know what that had to do with the research, but he shows this number saying that black people get called back 50% less on average, which is certainly a number, congrats, except this number says nothing about why they weren't called back, which makes it useless to Noah's overall point. If you can't give evidence for why they're not being called back, then you can't claim this as evidence of racism. All right, let's get back to Alyssa. Here Noah talks about diet culture.
When Illy cites an article from Self magazine in order to define the concept of diet culture, Sean criticizes her for using this source in a way that just doesn't make any sense.
Oh God, please someone tell this girl that quoting a magazine article is not research. Stop acting like it is. That's like saying, according to my friend Rachel, dieting is bad.
So, she was defining a term. She cited the magazine for the definition of a term. She wasn't using a statistic or even making an argument. You don't need a scientific study every time you want to do that. And the article's author cites a health services journal to define a term.
Then in Aubrey's article, she cites what looks like yet another opinion piece as proof of her arguments. Do any of these people use actual science to form their beliefs?
If you notice, once again, this source is being used to define a word. She's not citing it as a statistic. It's a word.
Except that's not what they're doing. They're using this term to claim that dieting is bad, and in Alyssa's case, that all dieting is dangerous or harmful, which is a statement that requires evidence, and the evidence that they're citing is their friends defining a word. I pointed this out because it's a very common news tactic to link to articles that your friends wrote to get people to agree through social proofing techniques, instead of using actual data or doing your own research, which takes effort. I believe you even pointed out similar frustrations in your video.
Interestingly, Sean doesn't cite the rule that she allegedly broke here, which is why no one else cited it either. They get all of their information from each other's videos and nothing more.
Right, so we agree that this strategy is bad and people shouldn't do that. But the stuff about diet culture is not a simple definition. They are trying to use it to say that dieting is bad without defining what a diet is. Is a diet a small calorie deficit and weight loss of 1 to 2 pounds a week? Or is it crash dieting? So they give what you call the definition and they moralize it in the following paragraph by saying, what's worse? You can't say these things are bad without evidence, and they actually shame good behaviors in the first paragraph by suggesting that limiting sugar is bad. It's not bad. Processed sugar is not good for you. Let's do one more research gem from Noah.
The other big, dumb, woke research critique comes earlier in his video. Illy cites a statistic about teenage dieting. In response, Sean finds a study on the topic and then criticizes Illy for that study, even though he isn't even sure if that's the study she used.
So I looked up where Alyssa got the quote, to which she did not properly cite, so maybe this is the correct source?
So his conclusion there, that she needs to fire her researchers, was reached with criticisms of a study that might not have been hers.
What? Didn't you call me lazy for not Googling a Dove study for a video of mine last year?
First up, Think Before You Sleep makes the argument that Dove is a lazy company because they show a statistic on the screen that he doesn't believe is true.
Okay, I don't believe that statistic at all. Where did you get that number?
So this is the Opinium Women in Gaming survey from early 2021. All he had to do was a single Google search with some relevant terms to find this survey. It took me 10 seconds. It's really not that much work, but he didn't do it.
By the way, that was the wrong study for those of you who aren't caught up on the drama. So I'm lazy if I don't try to find Dove's study that they didn't cite, but if I do try to find Alyssa's study, I'm irresponsible? It seems like a battle I can't win. How did I know it was the right study? I love how he's trying to take his screw up from Think Before You Sleep versus Noah Samsen Season 2 and use that against me. Are you actually going to admit to your audience that you messed up by saying the Opinium study was the study that Dove was referencing, when in reality, it wasn't? Now, the difference here, Noah, is that I didn't proclaim that I found the right study like you did. I said I might have the right study. The second big difference is that I actually pulled the exact text from her statement and found it in the study. Here it is. These are the exact words that she used in her video, and it's in the study that I criticized. Literally the exact wording and grammar, as if it was copied and pasted. Are we really going here? You, Noah, on the other hand, chose numbers from the Opinium study that did not match what Dove said, and claimed they were the numbers from Dove. Also, I love how he tries to make Alyssa not citing her source my fault. How is it my fault if your friend technically commits plagiarism from an academic standpoint and doesn't know how to cite research? She has 2.5 million followers and gets millions of views on her videos. With an audience that size, she has the moral obligation to be transparent about where she gets her data. But Noah, if you really are unsure if I got the right study, then why didn't you ask her if I got the correct study or not? Aren't you guys friends?
That being said, though, if Sean's criticism had been limited to just that she should have provided a direct link to her statistics, that'd be okay. But that's not what he did. What he did was pull up what amounts to a random study, imply that it was her research, tear the study to shreds because it was a bad study, and then scoop up that unidentified shredded paper off the ground in order to call her a dumbass.
But it wasn't a random study. It was a study that included the exact wording that she used in her video. Though if she wants to clear all this up, she could just, cite the study in the description of her video. It would take 2 seconds to do that. I mean, I must have gotten the right one because you better believe that Noah would have used that as a chance to dunk on me if I wasn't correct. This has to be one of the most dishonest tactics that I've seen Noah use to try to get the upper hand on an opponent, especially when all he had to do was text Alyssa to see if it was correct or not. But he knows I got the right one, which is why he's playing this bullshit game to try to discredit me. Why do people trust this guy? Anyway, back to the data.
And also, even if he just criticized her incomplete citation, that'd still be a nitpicky kind of critique because finding actual good data with the information she provided was extremely not hard.
So now we're back to saying that I should Google other people's studies for them, just not that study because you don't like it? I'm confused. It sounds like you're saying, Google studies for my friends when they fail to cite them, but if those studies make them look bad, then those are the wrong studies. Is that what I'm being told to do?
When you search teenage dieting National Library of Medicine, which is what was in her video, the shitty study that Sean found was the first result.
You mean the shitty study that was probably the actual study that Alyssa used? The fact that you keep pressing into this when it would have been so easy for you to just ask her if it was correct or not really makes you look dishonest. Let's continue.
But the next one, like the very next one, is a far more substantive paper with a bunch of working citations and evidence that Illy's statistics were accurate.
This study is too old.
And if Sean doesn't like this one either because it's too old, well, here's a newer one with the same numbers and some of them actually showing increases in these dieting rates.
Oh wow, you got me. Except that doesn't matter because this study has the exact same problems as the one from Alyssa's video. Problems that I believe I described when I reacted to it.
Despite Sean's lazy research and bad faith nitpicking, or because of it, I guess, he led viewers to the conclusion that she doesn't know what she's talking about, and then carried that conclusion over into his follow-up videos.
I like how Noah called me a bad faith lazy guy who takes people out of context, but then ignores the arguments that I made against that study in my initial video. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, it is shocking that Noah has the audacity to accuse me of taking things out of context, considering how much important context that he removes from the claims that he makes. I told you why I thought that study was bad in the original video. Instead of just saying I was wrong, why don't you respond to the arguments I initially gave, which were that they did not define what a diet is, they didn't define what a healthy weight was, and they didn't account for people who are dieting to be a more attractive weight while still being in a healthy range. Because of this, I don't know if they're saying that something like a 5'1" teenage girl dieting because she's 200 pounds is a problem. If that's the case, then provided that the girl is doing a safe caloric deficit, I would say that this is not a problem. This is a good thing. Now, if they're saying that a girl who is 5'1" and 90 pounds is dieting to lose weight, then I would say that is a problem. As far as I can see, though, this new study addresses none of this. The best it does is weight perception by BMI, and the most shocking result related to Alyssa's video is that 5 to 10% more teenage girls in 2015 said they thought they were a normal weight even though they had an underweight BMI, though I'm not sure how relevant these numbers would be today because 2015 was before TikTok and before fat acceptance became extremely popular, so you probably would need newer data for this. They also stated that people desiring to lose weight had more depressive symptoms, but none of this suggests that they are using unhealthy means to lose weight, nor does it say something like the underweight girls were still trying to diet. It sort of gives the perception that any attempt to lose weight is bad and indicative of a mental health issue, which is really a useless conclusion. I'm not sure what the purpose of these studies are, but as long as you aren't starving yourself or doing other unhealthy behaviors, the simple act of wanting to lose weight is not a problem provided that you are at a healthy body fat level. One last thing. Noah doesn't like my use of the term woke.
The last of these three fabricated narratives that I want to talk about today is the idea that Illy is woke. It stands to reason, then, that anyone that has been deemed woke is de facto bad. Thus, even the seemingly simple act of using that label on someone, as Sean did with Illy in his second video's title, is a form of guilt by association. It's psychological priming for the audience to come into the content with a less charitable attitude.
Noah, you do the exact same thing by labeling me as anti-woke, which is a trigger word for your audience because they already have preconceived ideas about that label. You literally titled a video, "Anti-woke content is trash," which preempts your audience to be less charitable and think I'm stupid or bad at making arguments, or you do it by putting vampire incel on your thumbnail, which in that case was funny, but don't gaslight people into thinking that you don't do this. How many projections is Noah going to put in this video?
If you're trying to change the definition of reactionary to focus on a group of people who disagree with you, so then you can use it as a slur against them, that's bad.
And I think that's bad.
But maybe he's not trying to use the word reactionary as a direct insult. I'm sure he doesn't use any other dog whistling tactics with other slurs.
Incels, reactionary garbage. Malding incels, red pill, black pill, incel rabbit hole.
Look, when you guys stop calling everyone an ist or a phobe or alt-right, I'll stop using the term woke. I really enjoy that Noah suggests that his team doesn't use catch-all terms as well. When I watched him call ABBA and Preach far-right, which is funny because ABBA and Preach align with the left, especially when it comes to issues such as systemic racism. So I'm not going to stop using the term. I told you what I meant when I used the term woke, which is for radical leftists and people who promote communist demoralization tactics like the fat acceptance movement does. Alyssa is definitely a radical leftist and she definitely is very political. Stop saying she's not political. She inserts politics into her videos all the time. Here's an example of that.
And so, if wearing "I'm not like other girls" as a badge of honor is the only way to make your autistic self more likable in middle school, you're probably gonna go down that route. But hopefully, when you and the other girls get older, you'll all realize internalized misogyny is just a feature of white supremacist and patriarchal ideologies that hinder us from attaining self-actualization and true equality.
Let me just say that if you're a normie and you're making a video about autistic dating, it would not occur to you to randomly insert a very politically charged statement like this about racial identity politics. Racial identity politics are tactics that groups like the Marxists and the Nazis use to radicalize people and obtain power, which is why I don't like them. To further show her politics, Alyssa has no problem retweeting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has no problem posting a watermelon in her profile, which is like the pro-Palestine version of the Ukraine flag, and she has no problem posting her thoughts about abortion and saying that she won't go to Chick-fil-A because they are pro-life.
Anyway, a little while after that, a new restaurant opened up in the area, and it was called Chick-fil-A. This was before we knew they donated to anti-organizations. So we don't go there anymore.
Actually, she has no problem lying about abortion to fearmonger her audience in a video like this one.
So I gained another fear that this procedure would not happen, that my doctors would be arrested, and that I would die. Wait a minute. You said you had an abortion. Mm-hmm. But you didn't. Well, technically, according to the law, I did. Since the Supreme Court eliminated the federal right to an abortion and has now left it up to each individual state to decide, the procedure performed on my body, a procedure that removes unwanted tissue from inside the uterus, in some states, by law, is now considered an abortion. God forbid you miscarry and the unviable fetus is killing you from the inside out, you would also need a D&C. But the law would say, ooh, sorry, that's an abortion, and we can't allow that.
Now, I'm not a lawyer, but Alyssa, you lived in California at the time. Abortion is legal there, and overturning Roe v. Wade did not change that. Also, the whole twist of this video was that she didn't actually get an abortion. She got a procedure that is like an abortion. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I can tell, this procedure is probably legal in Texas and Alabama, which are two states that she specifically mentions in the video. Both these states allow the kind of procedure that she got if there is risk of death or injury to the mother, and I have a hard time believing that they would deny her this medical treatment, considering that she wasn't pregnant and there was no life or potential life in question. So it sounds a lot like this video was just straight up misinformation. It's about as dishonest as the right suggesting that every abortion is done with a vacuum, when the reality is that half of them are done through a pill. For the purposes of this video, I don't care what side of the issue that you're on, but let's at least be honest with what we're dealing with. My apologies. I said this video wouldn't be too much about Alyssa, but I don't appreciate Noah yet again lying to his audience because he knows Alyssa, and Alyssa was quite possibly the least quiet person about her politics until about the year 2022. And even now, she's not that quiet about it, so I imagine that you guys have spoken about politics before. The whole notion that I'm fabricating all this is just ridiculous. There is so much evidence of everything that I've stated in the video that you would have to be willfully ignorant to not see it, or just have no knowledge of how YouTube works, especially with the mass flagging thing. People always make a big deal about that, even if it's a single video. Remember when Alinity threatened to copy strike PewDiePie?
Oh, it's almost like people can actually afford the chair and you're just a crybaby.
Seriously? He just said that? I'm gonna copy strike this guy. Yo! Can we copy strike PewDiePie's latest video? Like right now?
This was a huge event, and it was about a single video. You would have to not use YouTube to be ignorant of this. Anyway, as I said in this post responding to Turkey Tom, I would like all this drama to be over with. In fact, it was over with until Noah butted his way in. Like I said, I would not have responded to this video if Noah didn't basically accuse me of criminal behavior and essentially push his audience to flag my videos. However, seeing that I've now had the chance to defend myself, how about we all just stop? Because what's going to come out of continuing this? I know that Noah is just going to continue to gaslight his audience about how he didn't use some roundabout logic to accuse me of doxing, and I know he's not going to address major arguments that make him look bad. I know that because he already did that with the Dove video. It's been almost a year, and he still refuses to admit that he lied to his audience about not reading studies before he posted them as evidence of his arguments. Noah has been caught red-handed multiple times doing a bunch of dishonest stuff, and every time people bring attention to it, he just ignores the criticism, sweeps it under the rug, and refuses to engage with the opposition.
This guy is probably still recovering from injuries that he received from Vaush in a debate like 3 years ago.
They had a debate?
Yes, and he got so eviscerated after that debate, he said he would never have a debate again. It was brutal.
Yeah.
I had to pause the stream on YouTube because I could not watch.
What was the subject of the debate?
He made a whole hit piece video on Vaush about how horrible Vaush was, but Vaush was like, oh, we should chat about it. And then in the actual combo, he had like nothing to say. He was just like, it was horrible.
Right. He's not kidding. That debate was brutal. Turkey Tom even gave Noah the chance to talk to me on stream, but he refused. Now, I will give the caveat that I had just woken up during that invite and said maybe later or maybe some other time, but Noah almost immediately refused the request with no possible follow-up, and unless he was watching the stream, he did that without seeing my refusal, which says to me that he knows what he did, and he wants to keep this to a video battle because it prevents him from being directly called out on stuff. Personally, unless Noah wants to talk it out in a live chat, a place where he can't avoid difficult topics, I really have very little interest in continuing the conversation. He can do what he wants, but honestly, if he's not going to engage with any difficult points, and if he's just going to continue to hide behind scripting and framing, then how about we just let all this go and move on to something else? Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.